Okay, we are all present. Session. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome back. This is our first live meeting in about a year and a half, right?
Yeah.
And long time coming. It's good to see people, real people, instead of Zoomed. We welcome you tonight. I don't want to say it's a great event, but it's certainly eventful for us to be able to see you and have a live meeting again. So with that, Madam Clerk,
You need a motion to close the executive.
I need a motion to close the executive session, please.
Offer?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Battaglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Okay.
Good. Okay, first up is, it's going to be a presentation by Phil Swabinski and Frank Borelli in reference to the social media upgrade that the city is looking to put in place.
Okay. Bill, you're up. Is it working?
What? Yeah. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Mayor, Council, and Chief, and everybody else for having us here. Just to introduce myself, I'm Phil Swabinski with Vision Media. We are the city's public relations firm. We also have Chris Marks from our staff here, and then, of course, Frank Borelli from the city's IT department, who'll be working hand in hand on this effort if if the city decides to move forward with it. So we're here tonight to talk about the city utilizing social media platforms to more effectively communicate with residents and other stakeholders. So we're get right to the matter at hand. Why use social media, right? And there's a lot of good reasons for that. The first and foremost is what I just said. Hackensack, has a need to effectively communicate with residents, and as a communication professional, it's our job to recommend the most effective ways to do that. And things continue to change in the media landscape all the time. One of the challenges that we're dealing with, I'm sorry if that's a little small for anybody, but the traditional news media, the daily, weekly newspapers, the cable news outlets, they just don't cover city news and events as comprehensively as they used to, and to a point where it would be a reliable method for the city to get its information out anymore. At the same time, the city is already using some digital platforms, obviously the city website and some of the other services, but there's just not a critical mass of residents who are utilizing that, who are utilizing the website, utilizing things like Mixel and the other the other ways that we have now to communicate. There are obviously other communications mediums, but they're expensive. Things like printed communications, commercials. They're effective, but they're not cheap, and they're definitely not free. And obviously, everything we do here, we want to try to minimize cost to taxpayers while maximizing our effectiveness. Social media has really become a pretty standard tool for other local governments. I can tell you from our own experience, we work with a number of municipalities, and all of them are really effectively using Facebook and Instagram and other tools to reach residents. It's really become a very essential piece of the toolkit to reach people and get information out there. And even right here in Hackensack, a pretty big majority of residents are active on Facebook and Instagram. I actually just checked a little earlier this evening, and about 44,000 Hackensack residents are active Facebook or Instagram users. That doesn't mean we would reach all of them immediately, but it means that we have the potential to reach them over the long term. So if we decide to move forward with this, how will it work? It would be a collaboration between Frank and his team and myself and our team. And Frank, do you want to speak to how that would work?
Yeah, definitely. We right now manage the website. We manage the Nixels for the IT department. With that, we will work with Vision Media to post events, news, information on social media pages. So that'd be a Facebook and an Instagram page. But we will do that where we'll always be working with each other. So we never double post. We'll make sure there's a nice calendar of events of how we're going to do things, and we're going to make sure that if something is posted or something that's commented is inappropriate, it's dealt with fastly, and appropriately. So that's kind of what our goal as a team would be. So.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. And I think the other benefit of that is that we do there to backstop each other. I mean, social media is a constant thing. It's always on, right? So it wouldn't be just one person responsible for it. It would be my team, Frank's team, and then potentially other people involved in the city administration, depending on how we decide to manage it. But at least we would have a pretty good coverage already. We take a look at what this might look like on a pretty basic level. We created a mock-up of a City of Hackensack Facebook page. That's just kind of what the cover photo and the profile photo will look like. Obviously, the individual posts would be different news items, and we could talk now about what kind of content those posts would cover, because that's really the critical thing here, and it's where we have a lot of leeway to get creative and really get our message out. So we talk about what kind of content we would see on these pages. So kind of this low-hanging fruit, right? So city announcements, news, the kind of things that we're already using our other platforms for now would definitely go on there, and we would be able to link to our city website, be able to link to outside news stories, we'd be able to link to whatever other platforms we think are needed. City events and programming. Facebook is a great way to help get people aware of events. They have a Facebook events tool where people can RSVP, people can sign up, get more information, add it to their calendar. So that's something we could use for really any city event going forward. Something like spotlighting city employees. That's the kind of thing that you don't really get in the traditional media now, but there's a lot of great work being done here, and it'd be good to get the word out about it more. By the same token, spotlighting maybe local businesses, nonprofits, things going on in the community. Doing recaps of council meetings where obviously there's a lot going on, and the city's working hard to make these meetings more accessible, but not everybody is able to watch them or able to be here. So doing something to get information out about there. Updates on redevelopment, obviously, one of the biggest issues going on in the city. And then, publicizing some of those existing city services and tools that we would like more people to sign up for. If we create a large audience on Facebook and Instagram, we'd be able to push that to them. So, how does this benefit the city and the residents? We really want to keep people informed, right? I think that's an important function of city government. And really, the way that you can most effectively do that now in kind of modern communication is you meet people where they are, right? Like, people aren't necessarily going to hackensack.org, but they're already on Facebook and they're already on Instagram, so we can go meet them there. Increasing attendance at city events and usage of city tools, we kind of covered that already, but the more people know about things, the more people can enjoy the good things happening in the city. Raising awareness about city issues. I mean, an example, like recently, the city has done incredible work on the Teterboro issue, but having another way to engage residents, could have helped move that even faster potentially. But things like that, where we can get the message out to people. And enhancing civic pride. If we're able to highlight things going on in the city and the community and create a platform where we can connect with people, it can have a nice positive effect. Frank mentioned how the pages will be monitored. There would be a posted social media commenting policy. That's something that we're working on with the city attorney's office already, that would spell out exactly what kind of content would be allowed and not allowed on the page, and it would be very narrowly tailored. This is something that other government entities do, things like not using profanity, not using political speech. That would be publicly posted. Like Frank mentioned, there would be constant monitoring and redundancy, so we know that there's always somebody available to update the pages. And then we're exploring the possibility of using a page archiving tool that would help with things like Oprah compliance and making sure that that everything on the page would be would be there if we ever need it.
Okay.
All right, and open up any questions anybody has.
All right, council, staff.
I think I think it's a win-win. I think most younger kids, we have so many things going on, whether it's rec sign-ups or events and concerts in the park. A lot of times when we're around the city, people don't know about it because, like you said, they're not visiting the website, or they're, a lot of people aren't out seeing flyers. Bless you. So I think it's a way to reach definitely teenagers, even, people in their 20s, 30s, everybody to find out what's going on. So I think it's just a way to reach and let everybody know what's going on in the city and all the awesome things that are going on.
Okay, good.
The only question that I got, I think it's a good tool to use. How much it will cost to run this program?
Yeah, that's something that, we have to work on. I think that there's really two aspects of it, right? There's the creating content, which would be, based on our time and Frank's time, and I don't think would be a significant number. And then what I think the city should consider is adding some advertising money to it, which we can create a budget for that. But that would be a way to, rather than just kind of just building it very slowly, organically, we could immediately start reaching a lot more residents in Hackensack with our content and build our audience. So we'll be presenting, if you guys choose to move forward, we'll be presenting a detailed budget on, how much we think we should invest in advertising. And the great thing with digital advertising on social media is it's extremely flexible. Whether it's a few $100s, a few $1,000s, you're going to reach more people the more you spend, but it's not like there's a minimum where, you can only do it if you're willing to spend $100,000. It just doesn't work like that with us. So we'll definitely be digging deeper into that.
Jerry?
Yes. Once approved, how long will it take to get this up and running?
Well, not long. We can get the page up and running within a matter of days and start posting content. I think, once the pages are up and running, that's kind of one milestone. But then I think the more critical thing is just once we start building an audience, and that would be, sort of two ways of going about that. One is just sort of organic reach with, getting individuals, other city departments like the fire department, the police department have great Facebook presences now, getting them to share the page and get people to like it. And then, putting in some advertising dollars to grow the audience, hopefully quickly.
Thank you.
My concern is the public comment issue. The elected officials are, were the targets of keyboard cowboys, not just in Hackensack, but all over the country. But it goes even further. We sign on for that, so we kind of expect it to an extent, though I think it's wrong. But what about like our employees? If an employee is targeted or something like that, what about the ramifications to them? That's one of my concerns is, somebody starts picking on a fireman or a policeman or something, saying, with the typical name calling that they like to do. That's one of my concerns, and, it really has to be monitored. There has to be a strict, this is for notification, good stuff for the city. It's not to beat up people, whether it's us or employees or other commenters. So that really, I know it's hard to monitor because you can't be on it 24/7, so we really, need to pay attention to that. So that has to really be worked out to stay within legal parameters with our attorneys, to make sure we're not inhibiting free speech. But this isn't about free speech. This is, about getting information out to our public.
Yeah, Mayor, absolutely. I think the key there is to have this very specific commenting policy where it's posted, people are aware of it, people can refer to it and acting on it.
Right. Yeah, if it's derogatory, it shouldn't be on there. I mean, that's just the way I look at it. And if that inhibits some people's free speech, then I'm probably against it, because we get beat up enough to put yourselves out there in the public just so somebody can take shots at you because they're sitting at a keyboard at 10 o'clock at night and they feel like attacking you. It's kind of unfair to us, or an employee or anybody else for that matter. So something we need to make sure Steve and, the firm and everybody.
24-hour delay.
Yes.
But the time you receive anything that you get.
Yep. That was my concern, so you guys got to work on that.
Absolutely.
All right.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. The second item is just the intro for a resolution. It's kind of a formality resolution. It's just to reference the Community Development Committee. It's just appointing, or reappointing Susan and Ryan to represent us in the Bergen County Co-op Agreement.
Right.
It's where we got our CDBG grant from, so
Yep.
that's kind of a formality.
That's on for tonight, right?
Good. The third item is an ordinance to amend the no cash policy for all the city offices. we were having a $25 maximum accepting cash for permits or anything that, you know, felony infractions such. And now we're gonna decrease it to 10. They just found there was too much cash coming in. It was taking a lot of time to account for it, to get an escort to the bank. And it seemed to be, they gave it a shot, but it turned out to be too much money that we didn't really want to be handling on a daily basis.
Those areas, can they take credit cards?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yep. Yeah, they can use credit card as a service fee, or they can get a money order from the post office.
Okay.
That's 3. Number 4 is introduction of the ordinance to clarify and prevent dogs from running through the splash parks.
Mm-hmm.
Had some incidents where dogs were running through the splash park, so we just needed to get an ordinance in place that prohibited that.
Chief, is there a way to look into if we have enough signage in the parks? I know a lot of times on the baseball fields and in areas where they shouldn't be running around, they are, and I'm not sure if there's proper signage on all the different
Okay.
areas.
I'll have them check on the signage.
Thank you.
You know, I saw some discussion today between a citizen and City Hall about, because we have signs at certain parks, but no ordinance to back it.
Right.
So it kind of like,
Harbor Park in
inhibit people.
particular, there's a sign that says no dogs
Right,
in the park.
and I
Oh, so we don't have an ordinance then? I thought we did.
The only park that prohibits it is Palos Lake.
Atlantic.
I'm sorry, right, I'm sorry,
Atlantic Street Park.
Yes, I'm sorry, Atlantic.
But even, I understand, where children are playing,
Yeah.
openly playing, and I'm not talking about dog attacks, I'm talking about health reasons.
Yeah.
Dogs using the fields to relieve themselves, and then kids playing on it is an issue. So like Johnson Park, Machini Park, yeah, stuff like that, we need to, you know, dogs should always be leashed, number one.
Right.
They can't be running loose. People should have to pick up after their dog.
Most towns don't allow it on like ball fields.
Right, well, there are a lot of times they were on, and I think during COVID, no one was using the field,
This
so people
Stad
were
Park,
just
they always
letting
walk
them
their dogs there, and most people pick up after their dogs, and that's fine, but again, these kids, they play ball there.
go. Yeah.
You know. So, but there were other issues today. They're worried about dogs attacking people and everything.
Yeah, all right.
Something we need to discuss, I guess. Okay.
Next item is resolution just accepting a grant award in a sum of $275,130 from the state. It's for the police departments for their body worn cameras.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it's a non-matching grant, so it's could be used to pay off some of the bills that they previously purchased and for new employees and replacing older equipment. Next on the list is the resolution for the city to start the rolling reassessment for tax years 22 to 25. There was a letter from Art, basically outlined what's involved, the fee structure, and the advantages of doing this rolling reassessment as we've done in the past.
Right.
Keeps the assessments at a more current market value. So
Just for the public's knowledge, we started doing assessment when we got hit with all those tax appeals that we found out. What other municipalities were doing to stop it is they do a rolling assessment every year or two to make sure people's property values were kept up at 100%, so that stopped the appeal process. And through the years, it's been costly to do it, but it saved us a tremendous amount of money, way above and beyond what the cost of it was. So we're going to be starting it up again in a year from now and do it for 3 more years.
yeah, it'll be for the 22 tax year, but actually we'll start the reassessments in the fall of this year.
Okay?
If it all
They'll be
goes-
out there, probably to your home.
Yeah. The next item is a amendment to the ordinance in reference to piercings and tattoos, to allow tattoo shops, I should say, and developing a fee, or using the fee of $200 for the, I guess it's considered a license. for these places. And there's also some language about how far apart they can't, the distance between.
Is there a restriction on any place in town? There's no zoning involved in that? So they can put one on Main Street?
Yes, as far as I understand, yes. Zoning had weighed in, and I didn't see any feedback from them. Did you, Allison? No.
1,500 feet apart.
Mhm.
Okay, item number 8 is, and I'm going to ask Susan to just give a brief explanation on this. This is a resolution to update the Federal Highway Project Manual in reference to the TAP grant.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Chief, and the public. So the city of Hackensack was awarded a $1 million Transportation Alternative Program grant, the TAP grant, by the Federal Highway Authority, FHWA, which is administered by the New Jersey Department of Transportation. One of the requirements from the FHWA is that the city update their 2016 Policy and Procedure Manual. This is a black and white version. The update was required to ensure that the city understood the administration of the federally funded project in accordance with the FHWA's current requirements. So we worked hard to get this up to date. The things that we updated included the administration, the org chart, the process for the advertisement to bid for both the actual construction as well as the request for proposal for construction administration and inspection services by an engineering consulting firm. What's also included is source documentation, construction oversight, Buy America certification, disadvantaged business enterprises and trainee compliance, as well as all the paperwork that's required as you construct the job. That's pretty much the overview. This is just an updated version, and we're looking for a resolution to accept the updated version.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the Cannabis Ordinance. And the discussion was setting up the ordinance, how many facilities will be allowed and licensing fees and such. And I believe the current licensing fee proposed is a yearly $15,000 licensing fee for cannabis businesses in town. There's also a limit on them. I believe it's one retailer and one manufacturer is what the city.
Excuse me if I may correct you.
Yeah, please do.
Cultivation.
Cultivation.
There is processing, which is a separate
So, and
license.
actually, if you don't mind, I just want to make everyone aware that there have been some slight changes from the introduced ordinance, just to clean up some language to make sure it was consistent within the ordinance and with the state statute as far as definitions go. We'll address that more when the ordinance is up for discussion in the public hearing.
Mhm.
But also, there's a second ordinance that's being introduced on first reading tonight that's establishing the taxes and the licensing structure. And that is what the manager was referring to.
Thank you for
Good.
that. The other item that was, I'll just read this statement. In response to several phone calls by residents in the area of Prospect and Beach, the city is going to pull Resolution 265-21 for tonight's meeting and reconsider the addition of 2-hour time parking signs in this area. I'd like to gather additional information from the residents to understand their point of view. Further discussions will take place at the August 16th council meeting. So we still want to hear from the public on this.
Absolutely.
We'll hit the pause button for a minute and get everybody's concerns. So we can
And this
make-
is a perfect example where a social media page like Facebook would come in tremendously handy to let us know people's ideas and feelings. Gives us some type of system to weigh things out on what the public's feeling.
All right,
But absolutely.
that's all I had.
Okay. With that, we need a motion to open to the public, please.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Battaglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. With that, anybody from the public who would like to speak, please come forward. You will have 3 minutes. If you notice, we have a new clock right here by the clerk, and we're going to adhere strictly to the 3 minutes. We've had some complaints and issues about me allowing people to go over. I kind of used to like to give people a leeway, but we're going to keep everybody to 3 minutes. We will not interrupt you while you're talking unless it's for a good reason. And your question can be answered afterwards. Sir, how are you? I went the clock. All right.
There it goes. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to see that the parking ordinance has been moved to next month's meeting. That was actually what I was going to make some comments about.
Mhm.
But I may as well make them tonight, because I actually have two items. First item is about I'd like to talk about having the time parking on Beach Street. I don't understand why the push to have time parking on this street and Prospect Avenue when there are really no businesses or restaurants that we would be timing for. These streets are primarily residential, and changing these rules from what they are today could severely impact people who need these parking spaces because they don't have assigned parking spaces within the garages of their buildings. I have a proposal. Provide a free parking permit to tax-paying residents on Beach Street or Prospect Avenue so that they would be beyond that rule of the time parking. That's a proposal for time parking, and if they were parking, they wouldn't be ticketed for exceeding the 2-hour time limit. So that's my comment about those two streets. My second item, and I do congratulate the council for getting the flight path changed. However, I'd like us to be able to get some statistics from the FAA to see what the percentage of flights are that are actually using this new flight path. As a resident of 301 Beach Street, I can tell you from my terrace or from the pool, I think it's 0% are using the new flight path. Problem is, it was made voluntary, and I don't think, and even though the pilots have all been trained and know about this new flight path, it doesn't seem that anyone seems to be using it. So that's a comment that I wanted to bring to tonight's session because it went into effect July 1st. And
Mr. Goodman, I agree with you 100%. So, are you finished?
I am done.
All right, I'll try to answer as
Thank you
best
for
I can.
your
First, I'll
time.
answer the resident sticker parking. And I believe if you have a resident sticker, we do charge $5, and we would be hard to do it for free because we've been charging for way before this council came in, the $5 fee was in place. If you have a resident parking sticker, you can park more than 2 hours, correct?
There's, one of the reasons this got pulled because there's some confusion and maybe some miscommunication as far as what areas are eligible to get resident parking stickers. It's not every resident in the city is
Right.
eligible to get a resident parking sticker. It has to be in designated areas. So
Right.
that's one of the areas that I wanted to kind of do a little more investigating on so we could speak, with some knowledge of it.
Right.
It's not the whole entire city, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir, and decided.
But one of the issues we are having, that I know we're having, because it happens, we have hospital workers parking there all day, so they're not residents, so they're taking up spots, which could be used by residents. That's one of the main reasons. Same thing with people using the buses, all right? So people come, they park on Prospect, they get on the bus, their car sits there all day. A resident of Hackensack doesn't get to use a spot. That's why with the $5 permit, if we do that in a certain area, that person can now park there all day if he has his permit, all right? And the 2-hour limit stops the, the bus users?
Commuters.
And the commuters and the hospital employees are doing it. We've been doing this for the hospital employees, especially down on the other side of Essex Street, down by the Hillers area, because they park there all the time, and they've had them institute 2-hour parking there, and it's worked pretty well. It's stopped a lot of it. So that was the reasoning and thinking behind it. So that's probably where we're trying to head with that. We understand everybody's concerns. What we have to figure out is who's getting a sticker and who's not.
Correct.
So, that's, but we're not looking to, we're actually looking to make parking for our residents and not, let somebody who's taking a bus, driving from another town, let them get dropped off or park somewhere
And
else.
Yeah, and I'm under the understanding that the Condo and Co-op Board recommended something like this. They were
There's been
supportive.
discussion, I don't know if there was discussion, well, Ms. Jankowski is here, so I don't know if that was through the Condo Board, but we've been dealing with this issue for a long time, not just that area, throughout the city, where we find out commuters are parking all day, taking away from people who can't park in front of their own homes, especially in residential areas. You live in a residential area, but it's apartments and condos and co-ops. A lot of these areas are people's houses where they can't even park in front of their own house ever. because there's always cars parked there. So this is what we're trying to quell and stop, so that's our goal. But nothing's perfect, sometimes it takes a few meetings to work it out and get everybody in agreement. That's why we have these great meetings.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there a way that we can we reach out to an agency at the FAA to find out what the status?
Oh, let me speak to that real quick, if I may. You want to speak to it? Go ahead.
I got on my list to follow up on.
All right, we're gonna follow up on that.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public like to speak? Yes, ma'am?
Good evening, welcome back.
How are you? Thank you.
My name is Cecilia King, and my husband and I are owners and residents at the Beechwood condominium at the corner of Prospect and Beach Street.
Mhm.
As a resident of the neighborhood for 24 years, I ask you to reconsider the idea to limit the parking on Prospect Avenue. A time limit would be a hardship and disservice to the area residents, your constituents, as well as our visitors, service providers, and remote, and the general public. I do not know what the benefit is of adding any restriction to the current parking guidelines. The length of Prospect Avenue is a residential neighborhood with the exception of the hospital and the two other buildings which are close to State Street. There is a need for parking for the residents' use that is only further reinforced by the presence of the medical center, which brings more visitors to the area with every expansion. In fact, rather than impose a 2-hour limit on parking in any neighborhood, may I be so bold as to implore you to reinstate the street parking that once existed in front of Beechwood on the north side of our entrance prior to the installation of the traffic light at Prospect and Beach. Unfortunately, my building does not have sufficient parking to provide space for resident guests, and so very dependent on street parking. When my mother, brother, uncles, aunts, cousins, and friends come over for Thanksgiving or Christmas or Easter or any other gathering at my place, they have parked on the street. How long are your family gatherings? 30 minutes? 60 minutes? I would like my guests to stay for as long as they want to stay, which is always more than 2 hours. I would also like to do so without them having to get up and find a new spot on the street for a 2-hour time limit under the threat of a ticket or tow. This suggested restriction is also an added burden on senior citizens, persons with mobility issues, and would be exacerbated in inclement weather or after a snowfall when parking is particularly tight. Over the years, I have had painters, electricians, plumbers, appliance services, or other service providers in my home who have been challenged by the limited parking availability. But I have been fortunate enough to keep my home operable. I wish these jobs only took 2 hours, but oftentimes they do not. Again, a time limit would be a hardship and disservice to the area residents and constituents. Please continue to keep moving Hackensack forward and building a brighter future as you have pledged to do, and do not impose this hardship on me or my neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. I can address one or two issues there, and they're great issues because it came up in a recent thing about parking, which wasn't that long ago in a different area of town, about people coming to visit, and I agree with you, your family should be able to spend all day with you if they want to. But with a simple call to the police department ahead of time that I'm having a guest, and if you just, how did they get a license? They gave a license plate number, and then they were protected, they could park there all day. I know it's a little bit of an inconvenience to call, but it guarantees them that they're not going to be ticketed. So,
That was specifically Anderson and Hamilton?
that was Anderson Hamilton, that was just done
That was
several
just
months
recently
ago.
done, yeah.
So that's one way we were able to work around that.
In other
so
words,
that-
if that were to be imposed in your area, that option would be available for you.
It's very similar to like Maywood, which doesn't have overnight parking, but in certain circumstances, it's an emergency, you're allowed to call ahead of time, say, I have somebody from out of town, I can only have one car driveway, they're gonna be on the street and they allow it.
Any guest service provider, if I think they're.
So it could be a servant, it could be,
Stay there for
yes,
2
yes.
hours
You can call ahead of time, say, I have a guy coming, a painter is gonna be here painting my apartment all day, or my condo. So we can work around that, that's not a problem. All right, but again, our goal is to establish parking for residents, not to take it away. The problem is, other people are taking your parking away. A lot of people are taking your parking away, believe me. Most of the cars, we have done studies, traffic studies, and most of the cars parked in that area are not Hackensack residents. So,
I understand the principle, but I almost would prefer the open market where everyone has a chance rather than having someone have to
Right.
go through that hardship of, sending my senior citizen, relatives out to go move their car.
well, they wouldn't have to move their car if you
Well,
knew
yeah,
they
that
were
will
coming.
work, that was the.
Yeah.
That was the provision that was put in the last
Yeah.
ordinance for.
We're just trying to create more, because we know there's a parking need there for residents, we're trying to recreate that. basically.
What about my suggestion to add back the parking on Beach Street as not a prospect?
That we'd have to look at, traffic would
I
have to do a
wrote
study
it
on
down,
that.
I'll talk to traffic and see what
Yeah.
they're,
I remember, that was about 10 years ago.
That was done as part of a traffic study for the traffic signal on Beach and Prospect. Whether they could back off of that a little bit, that's gonna be up to the traffic division, that's something they handle.
Yeah, I understood that they thought at the time because the stop sign was there, and everyone kept on going through the stop because
Mhm.
they couldn't see it. But now there's a light there.
Right.
So it's a little bit different.
We will, the manager will definitely talk to
Yep.
traffic.
And I think that might actually help because if people are coming in and out of
Mhm.
parking spots, they actually want to slow down rather than.
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm already breaking my rules, I'm not supposed to be going back and forth doing it, so.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Annette Jankowski, Prospect Avenue, Condo Co-op Advisory Board. I just wanted to clarify that initially, about a year and a half ago, when we wrote to Ted Ehrenberg about the cars, it was about the illegal parking, people that were parking in the illegal spaces for hours and hours, which was obviously very hazardous to anyone trying to get in and out of the driveways and whatever, and to pedestrians.
Okay.
So it was all about, and they're still doing it, people parking in the bus stops, people parking where the lines and the signs clearly state no parking, and they're parking. Very, very blatant about it. That was the issue.
Is it still happening a lot?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Still happening a lot?
Oh, it's awful. It's absolutely awful. And my suggestion at the time was start ticketing the illegal cars and the word will get around. I don't know if that was done, to be honest, but
I'm told by the police department that traffic routinely patrols Prospect Avenue specifically looking for you to
I
park.
don't see them, to be honest with you. And I have an apartment facing the front of the building, so I'm not seeing it. Could be, but it's at the point now where, I mean, when I left this evening, they were just blatantly parked in the no parking areas. And it's just, you know, it's a danger. It really is to everyone.
And not to put the burden on you, but if you have the desire to notify the police desk of illegally parked cars that are present at the moment, they will certainly.
Just call.
Yes, they'll certainly
I don't have
respond.
a problem with that. Because as you know, Prospect's gotten very, very busy over the years, and you add on a delivery truck or whatever,
Yep.
you have chaos on that street. So, but it was never an issue of people, resident parking, it was an issue of the illegal parking. So,
I was led to believe that you were
Yeah.
in favor, that the condo board was
Yeah.
in favor of the 2-hour limits.
not really we're in favor of it if it will help the residents of the building, but you know,
Right, and that's
or
what
if it will help.
That's what we assume the intention
If it will,
is.
let me put it this way, if it will deter people that shouldn't be parking there to park there,
Right.
you know, because the other.
Well, it obviously would deter people that are commuting because they can't park there, they have only 2 hours.
Plus at 385 Prospect, the medical building, that's filled right now. So what I'm hearing from people is that there is not enough parking in that building for the patients. So they're spilling over into the illegal parking spaces also,
Okay.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you, Mr.
Thank you for the
Jankowski.
clarification.
Thank you.
Next person, please. Good evening.
My name is Nancy Weimer. I live at 301 Beach Street. We had heard not just that there would be timed parking, but that there would be a beginning of two-sided parking on Beach Street. That's what I was told by our property manager, and that's a concern. I would be anybody coming out of the garage parking area, I'm short. I can't always see past the car that's frankly parked in the yellow lines where they shouldn't be, and sometimes they're Uber people. They're not, regular.
Yeah, there's a good,
So
right.
you have to pull out, and if there's parking on the opposite side of the street, as well as on the current side going down, there's not enough room. And then when school starts, with parents dropping their kids off and whatnot, and school buses, and they just stream on in. I mean, just this morning, somebody was coming up, I had to pull out, I would say easily a foot past the car so I could see where the hell I was going, excuse my language. And I got, I was like this close to getting clipped, and the guy beeped at me, I was like, I can't see. So 2 things that I'm asking for, if you're thinking of both sides of the street parking on Beach, forget about it. Seriously,
Right.
please.
It's news to me, so I'm not
Well,
aware of it.
that's-
I can address that. That was written on one of the documents that
Yes.
it was proposed, and that was written in error. The north side of Beach, from Second to Prospect, is no parking anywhere.
It's staying.
That is the intent to keep it, to remain that way.
Oh, thank God.
So whoever wrote the notice, it was just an error that they wrote both sides of the street.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the other thing about the timed parking, I would just be concerned if you're gonna do it for overnight, maybe if you did timed parking between, 7 AM and 7 PM or 6
It is.
PM or something like that. What you don't want is people having to run out every 2 hours and try to move their car at, 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever.
It was gonna be 7 AM to 7 PM.
Yeah.
Oh, see, that wasn't in any of the
Yeah.
information we got either. Sorry.
Okay. No
And
problem.
just to reiterate what Ira was saying, I don't know what the heck they're doing with the planes to Teterboro, but I can tell you that I can set my watch 20 minutes after every hour, on the hour, there's a frickin' plane.
I'm in the flight path also. Believe me, I hear you loud and clear.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
John, welcome back. It's been
Welcome
a
back.
long time.
Year and a half, Rich.
A year and a half at least.
Yeah, long time. Yep.
Absolutely incredible. All right, look, I'm just walking in on this conversation, really. I'm Rich Servo, Hackensack in New Jersey, Spring Valley Avenue, and we'll talk about Spring Valley Avenue at some other time. But I'm just walking in on this. Hackensack's always had a parking problem, always, okay? And the more cars that are coming into the city, it's gonna get worse. But regulating it, I guess, is necessary time-wise, but this whole thing with the fees, the meters, is killing this town. Those fees don't bring in that much. The metered parking doesn't bring in that much. You check out your figures. Where's, here he is. Check out our figures on the,
I'm glad he's here.
the metered parking. You're not bringing in that much dough on that. So regulate it some other way. Charge a nickel, okay? Or have more parking garages, have free lots, and get this under control. This town has always had a parking problem. It's gonna get worse. You can see it coming. It's gonna be massive, okay? So we'll talk later during the city meeting, all right?
Thank you, son.
Here,
Anyone else from the public? Yeah, the gentleman right behind.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, city council members, thank you. My name is Ray McIntyre. I also live at on Prospect, 100 Prospect Avenue, the Beechwood. And I have to agree with many of the folks here. Parking's a nightmare. It really is a bit of a challenge. I'm fortunate enough to have a parking space, but I have family that comes over, so it's a little disruptive. What really concerns me is the hospital expansion. Now, you guys know this as well as anybody. That expansion, that's great for the city of Hackensack, great, bully. Unfortunately, it freaks me out as to where those folks are going to be going. I'm concerned about what's going to happen with traffic. Prospect Avenue is chaotic already with some of the traffic on there. Now, not to say that I'm the world's perfect driver. I won't say that. I wouldn't do that to you guys. But I will say that I do see a lot of crazy things. Parking is just one part of it. So I would like to see something addressed. I don't know if the 2-hour parking limit is the answer, but maybe some kind of permit or parking sticker, something to help us out. Just some kind of happy medium.
Well, that's exactly what we're looking at.
Yes, perfect. I appreciate that. I just wanted to voice that. Second, regarding the FAA flight pattern, yeah, it's a nightmare. I really can't set my watch to those guys. And I'm a heavy sleeper. They're just terrible. Could I offer a comment on that whole website?
Sure, absolutely. You're 3 minutes. Whatever you want to.
Well, I'm down to half. Okay, but you guys, I see a lot of billboards about the SAC and, positioning Hackensack as this go-to kind of place, and I love that. That's great. I love the new buildings, love all the stuff you guys are doing. but we need a little bit more of a heavier social media presence. The website, that's a step in the right direction, but you're like 8 steps behind what real, other, okay, so you guys are
We're trying
trying
to
to
catch
get
up.
here.
And the SAC stuff is actually the Main Street Alliance, that's their branding, because they're working Main Street. When you see that stuff, that's, even though they work in conjunction with the city, they do that on their own, have their own funding, but it's not taxpayer money per se. But no, we're trying to move forward. One of our hesitations, and I'm sure you heard me talk, is if you see the way what happens to us like during elections,
Yes.
on Facebook and stuff, and it's brutal. It's really being subjected to stuff, you're like, gee, you want to get information out there, but I'm gonna have some guy calling me and my family names, for absolutely no reason. So we're very hesitant about it, and we've seen it, doesn't happen in every town, but it happens in this town.
Yes, and I can appreciate that. I know I'm running out of 15 seconds, but maybe we can take that as an opportunity to have more of a dialogue with the citizens of this town. Granted, I know it's not easy, and I don't envy you guys. I'm sure you're the target, and it's, what did you call it, cowboy clicker?
Oh, keyboard cowboys.
Thank you. But, on behalf of those folks, I do apologize. But it would be a good avenue to have more of a dialogue with your citizens. Thank you.
Thank you so much, appreciate it. Next person in the public?
Good evening. Social King, Hackensack. How's it going?
Good, you?
How's it going? And Coach, congratulations. Thank you. Good to see you. Real quick, I want to speak about sort of the rec department and the sports complex. First of all, I am totally in favor for that. I'm a father of four young, 2 middle schools, 2 elementary school. I think this is going to be an excellent opportunity for our kids. Mayor, I know you've always been involved in sports. Even when I was in high school, I think you came to some of our games. So I think that is important. That's also important. As these new buildings come in, families are going to come in, and they're going to, first thing they see is how our parks, what do we offer for their kids. And this sport complex, I think is good, but however, one of the things you have to keep in mind, we have to make sure it is for multi-sports. Like my kids run indoor track for the rec department, or quote unquote rec. We have to travel to New York. We go to Staten Island. We go to Connecticut. We've gone to even some, and if Hackensack were to build something like that, I guarantee you, you will be booked throughout the state of New Jersey during the winter season just running the track. So that's one thing. So please keep that in mind. Also, we have to keep in mind about our female sports. There is, before we get to an equity issue, especially in the younger level, like for example, we need to include for the rec volleyball for females during the fall season. Then that way it can expand to everyone, not just the sports that we have like football and soccer, which is boys and girls, but start including some new sports. And second of all, I think we need to really reorganize our rec program and make it into one umbrella. Right now, I'm doing baseball. I was thrown in for baseball even during the summer for my little league son, and everything is fine. But maybe, how it was done in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, it's totally different now what we need to go, what we're doing today, how things have changed. I think that needs to, all the rec needs to be under one umbrella, one stop and shop. Because even now, as I travel with baseball, we go to different towns, and I'll give you an example. North Bergen, they have their own rec busing. They bus the kids to different games during the summertime. Union City buses kids. And I always like to compare ourselves. I think we're better than those towns, way better, academically, school-wise, but they're offering a lot more for their citizens. And I think that's something we need to keep in mind. Also, I think if we're under the umbrella of all sports that offer to the rec, I think cost goes down. Because right now, we are pricing a lot of our families out of it. I have 4 kids. So if a family that, by all means, me and my wife are better off than a lot of people, especially during COVID, but a lot of people are being priced out. I don't think that's something that needs to be addressed.
Thank you, so. But I'll speak to that very quickly, and if Jerry and Steffi want to speak to it also, but Jerry and Steffi are going to be heading up a whole new revamp of recreation in the city of Hackensack. Mr. Carroll and myself were involved in sports in Hackensack going way back into the 80s, probably a little earlier maybe. And we know what the city had and what it was doing and capable of and what we are capable of, and we want to get back there. And, you know, the whole umbrella thing, I'd say you must have been sneaking into our meetings. Talking about it. But yes, that's we're probably going to put everybody under the same umbrella. And one of the reasons that wasn't done is because a lot of the fundraising is done individually by each sport. So, you know, certain sports that raise a lot of money certainly didn't want to just have their money taken by another sport. So, but that's going to be, they're still going to have control of their own money, but it'll be managed by our CFO and in trust funds, so that will be maintained. Stephanie and Jerry, any
If
comments?
I could just, I couldn't agree with you more, Mr. King. I know we've had discussions, and I have 3 kids in many different sports as well, and I see you at the games. And one of our things is our fields absolutely have to be improved, but one of the through research and learning in the process, one of the barriers we ran into were when you take certain grants, if you're not running your rec programs, you're considered an outside organization. So do we want to charge our outside organizations to use our fields? That's a battle. That's one of the reasons that, you know, myself and Mr. Carroll, we're so happy to work together on the rec board and try to figure these things out, because we want turf fields, we want lights for our kids, we want, you know, like you, I go, you know, to many different fields, Mount Olive, North Bergen, and they all have these beautiful facilities, and you see these other towns, their kids are, you know, indoors, batting practices, you know, doing workouts in the winter. We don't have that, and like yourself, you know, myself and my husband are fortunate enough to be able to bring our children to different things and, you know, pay for these things, but a lot of families aren't. So we could offer that from the town, you know, low fees or no fees for these children to, you know, work and get better year round. That's the thing that we're competing with other towns that they have and we don't. So we're absolutely working together to figure this out and try, you know, that's our number one goal, I would say, myself and Mr. Carroll, is really to figure out. And I know our council supports us, and with the donut, Councilman Battaglia is, you know, trying to get established and going. I think everything, all these improvements are going to really help our programs for our kids, so. And I appreciate the help, anything that you guys want to do. Thank you.
Coach?
Exactly what Stephanie stated. One of the first charges I received from the mayor was the rec program. And Stephanie and I have met, and we're going to continue meeting. And we're going to have something hopefully soon to present. So I do hear what's going on. You know, I coached in this town for 30 years, and I've seen it all. I like to get it back to the glory days.
And one of the things I noticed is with our recreation board is years ago when I was involved, all the coaches went to rec meetings. All the coaches, and they were heard. And that's lacking today. That's going to change. That will change. So, thank you, sir. Next person, please. How are you? Welcome.
I apologize, I was late, so I missed the beginning of the meeting.
This is actually the beginning of the end of the first meeting. We still haven't even started. Second meeting yet. Go ahead.
My name is Linda Steele.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the president of Breacher Heights Condo. And just wanted to give you a little background about our building, because we're very, very, very concerned about parking. So our building sits on the corner of Prospect and Beach.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pre-war building. I don't know the exact year it was built properly. And when it was built, it's not like the other new high-rises along Prospect that have adequate parking. We've never had adequate parking. There's 72 units and we have 65 spaces. We allocate 1 space per unit. So coupled with not having enough spaces, the people that have 2 cars in their family, which is 14 more cars, park on the street. I'm just very, very concerned because we're not going to have enough parking space.
But just before you go, we pulled that ordinance, or that introduction, or that resolution tonight, that discussion. And one of the reasons, there's been some miscommunication, misunderstanding. One of the reasons we're moving forward is because of the lack of parking for residents in Hackensack. We're and we're dealing with hospital workers parking all over our streets and commuters parking all over our streets all day long. So the 2-hour rule applies to them, but it would not apply to residents. We've done this throughout the city before, it's been quite successful, especially with the hospital workers over on the hill, to stop them from, because every hospital worker has an assigned parking space. I work there, I know. Every single person that works in a hospital has an assigned parking space, but a lot of them don't want to wait for the buses down at the parking garage, so they'll look for a local spot. And then the commuters park, like I said before, we have traffic people out there, the track, and most of the people, a lot of the people parking on Prospect and American Legion in those areas are not Hackensack residents, a lot of them. So they're taking our spots. So our goal is to get those spots back. They have to, the hospital workers should be parking in the garages that they have, and commuters should be dropped off. They shouldn't be parking on our streets all day. So that's our goal. So with the 2-hour parking, what happens is you would get as a resident, you would apply for a parking sticker. It's a $5 charge per year, that's it. We have to charge that because it's been in an ordinance for probably 20 years. We're certainly not making money off of parking stickers, but that was, I don't know who decided to do it, but that's what they charged. And that gives you the opportunity to park there. Also, when we brought up an issue, which we had addressed in an earlier area of town where we were dealing with this, is if you have family coming to visit, they should be able to stay more than 2 hours, all right? And so what they do is you just call ahead of time, you have somebody visiting, and you get their license number, and then they're protected, they can park there. Same thing with if you have a worker coming to your unit. So that's where we're heading with this, but it's certainly not to take parking away, it's to add parking. All right?
So, as a resident, can you park on any local street?
Well, yeah,
Like up on Summit or Overlook?
Well, if you're a resident of your area, and you go to an area that has a 2-hour limit, I don't think that carries over. No, that doesn't carry, it's related to around your area. In other words, you couldn't go over to the other side by Hiller School and park for 6 hours.
Right, but you could park in the whole area.
Yeah, there'll be a designated area, that all has to be decided, and who's eligible and who's not, and, how we're gonna work that out.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This works through mass. My name is Regina Nepshaw. I live at the Beechwood as well, and I'm very happy to hear about the permit, because that just sort of solves a lot of the problems. But I do want to second what Ophelia King said about when we had a stop sign, a lot of parking was whittled away over the years, and so it would be nice to see some of that come back. You said you would look into the traffic report on that.
We're gonna look into that, see if it's feasible.
I don't know that this is the right place to address this, but I don't see a lot of police presence with, Ray said about increased traffic with the hospital. Every night, there's somebody who goes by the building and revs, whether it's their motorcycle or their hot car, and it occurs to me that it might be somebody who's harassing somebody because it's so intentional that he might be a guy whose girlfriend is in the building or something like that. And this happens pretty regularly, like the last 2 months. So I'm just concerned that that person's not getting pulled over and not getting stopped.
Is it a normal time of day or night?
It's at night, it's late, it's usually like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And it just feels very intentional because it's right in front of our building. It could be across the street from my building, 100 or 101. The person intentionally revs and then just spills out. So I think it's somebody probably harassing one. It's probably a guy harassing a woman.
Could be a woman harassing a guy. Do you have a description by chance of the car?
I'll take it.
Yeah.
It's usually so fast and they're
Okay.
As far as the Teterboro, it's not just the frequency and the flight path, it's how late it goes. I mean, sometimes it's 12:30, 1 o'clock. I understand there's a lot of storms,
you know, so they might get the flights in late, but it just seems like it's really heavily weighted at that time. Well, past 12 o'clock at night, that seems excessive to me for, you know, where, how, traffic going that late in the evening, so that's all I gotta say.
Thank you, appreciate it. Next, please.
Hello. I just have a couple of questions.
Sure.
What's going on with these small cars and these enhanced buffers? Now landscaping trucks also have them. And the speeding on Summit Avenue is scary. There was a car yesterday past my daughter's house. I was babysitting. The car went so fast I couldn't get the color of it. I swear to God. It's like from Coles to, well, what I can hear is Spring Valley.
Okay.
And those, I think, are, I mean, a couple of years ago, that girl was thrown from the car on Route 4, you know, hit the building, right, the restaurant.
Right.
You know, it's just getting worse. Like, it seems like it's not being addressed.
Any particular time of day?
No. It really isn't.
It's a lot of different cars, Dee, or just?
No, they're mostly small.
Right. So I'm saying it's not one in particular, one or two or three in particular.
No, but there's also the landscaping trucks now. You know, the newer ones. It's crazy. It's very scary. Now, isn't there an ordinance? No commercial landscaping on a Sunday.
I don't believe so.
Well, we went to the house, that was the rule, but that was 4 years ago.
Prohibited by the law, by the county law.
Double check on that. 'Cause we went back and forth.
Also, landscaping trucks, you know, with big trailers and, aren't they supposed to have their name on it?
Truck, commercial truck has to have a name and a license, and a name and phone number.
I'm not the only one in town that sees all this. I don't want to see it all, but.
And we deal with that all the time with illegal trucks parked, you know, landscapers and stuff like that. So
But just put your name on the truck.
it's a commercial vehicle, it's supposed to have a name on it.
Somebody worked for the city that pulled me over because I took a kitty toy out of a rubbish, a pile on rubbish night,
Right.
and told me I couldn't take it or he could ticket me. Come on. Let's prioritize here. Put the damn kitty toy back for goodness sakes. But, okay. Thank you.
He's gonna look in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Next person, please.
Good evening. I'd like to address the situation around Zabriskie Street. We have a new development at Jefferson.
What's your name, please?
Robert Brander, E-R, A-N, B as in David, E-R.
Thank you.
Okay, at this present time, Zabriskie Street has increased in traffic. We have a lot of buses when Jefferson gets shut down. And then you have all these hot rods come through, and it's just relentless. And it goes to like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Plus the fact you're in a conjunction with Johnson, the beginning of Kindercommon and Zabriskie. Is it possible to put in speed tables and also make Zabriskie a one-way street?
That would be an issue for traffic division to look at, so the chief will, the interim manager will look at that for the one-way. I'm gonna ask that he look into getting at least a speeding trailer over there, if it's an issue.
And specifically on Zabriskie,
Because I live on Zabriskie, I notice.
You're saying most of the speeding takes place, a lot of it takes place on Kindercommon, Johnson Avenue, and that stretch.
It comes down because we have, it's a feeder route into Kindercommon, and you have signs going to the River Edge, you know, Bergenfield, so people use it. And also you have buses come down. And of course, you know, when you have Jefferson shut down, they have no other way to do it.
All right.
what direction direction, one-way direction, are you referring?
Preferably westerly.
One
So
way
when you pull
westbound
up from the
only?
Belmont, just go west.
I'll pass it along to traffic and they'll do an evaluation.
Thank you. Yes. We have to start our second meeting soon, so are these, your comments referring to, you come on up, something that we've been discussing already, or is it? Are you here for the first or second meeting? I guess that's what I should be asking you.
I've never been to one of these meetings.
Okay, good answer.
Kimberly King.
Okay.
I'm sort of reiterating what my husband said, but
Okay.
there's something new.
Mhm.
I can't stress that we don't have enough sports options for girls for the rec program. Just having spoken to the coaches that are starting their sports programs, for many of our girls, this is the first time that they're playing sport at the freshman level. And that just speaks to what we offer the girls in Hackensack regarding what we provide in our rec program. So that is a serious problem. Additionally, I can't stress to you that the sports complex really has to have a track. Our track program is huge.
Wrote it down.
We regularly have 100 plus kids come out. We regularly send kids to college on track scholarships. So again, I can't stress that it needs to have that. Now something new is I believe some parks are going to be renovated. I hope that those parks include equipment that is inclusive of children with special needs, because that's something that Hackensack doesn't have right now. And while my kids have outgrown much of the play equipment, I don't think Hackensack has one playground that can accommodate children with special needs. And all over Bergen County, you have these beautiful parks with beautiful modern equipment, which Hackensack doesn't have, and it's equipment that is not inclusive. And the last thing is, we have so much development in Hackensack with these monstrosities, but not a lot of them are providing any sort of like give back to our parks or lights or anything that could go to our library. And if they're going to build here, then maybe they should provide something to leave their mark, because they're taking up quite a bit of space, and they should give a little bit more back and sort of leave a little thank you in the way of lights or park renovation or something like that, like so many other towns in the surrounding Bergen County area do.
That was one of the discussions, like when you go to other towns, you see a scoreboard and you see it, donated by this bank, or you have, but, that came up a while ago, and one of the pushback that I received was, well, we're selling out, now we're selling out, we're gonna name, but it's not, we're not renaming a park, we're putting, on a field or something, so there's.
I feel like we're selling ourselves out anyway. I feel like Hackensack's sort of being treated like a.
Well, I think we could get money in to do fields and things like that, but again, this came up a while ago, and not you, but, some people felt like, well, why are we giving, why are we gonna put a name on a field or something? But I feel like we should be able to definitely get a scoreboard out of, a building or a bank or, attorney or whatever it is, we should do that. And as far as the women's sports and girls' sports, I 100% agree. I just, brought my daughter to Montvale for tennis lessons, and then we went, to another town for field hockey. So, I agree, we're not offering those things here, and even if it's not in-house, we can partner with like the TGA, the Tennis Association, or the Golf Association, to have those programs come in and do that, and that was just never, explored before. So I'm hoping those are things that are done for, girls' sports, because we're not offering enough for them.
I'm going to allow for one more, I see I have one more speaker, I'm going to allow for one more. Thank you, Ms. King. And then we're going to go right into our second meeting. We're running very late. Thank you.
Good evening, Bridget Rucker.
Ma'am?
Hackensack resident. I'm just here to speak about the DPW trucks. I believe I called the city manager's office. I've sent videos. One of their trucks is really in need of repair. It leaks all over our street. It leaves the residue of the garbage through the streets. The smells during the summertime, are not welcoming. We live on the street, have to go out the street, put detergent or some kind of thing to wash the street. So, and I have spoken to the gentleman, Mike, supervisor of the DPW. He's been very kind, but by sending the street sweeper down the street. The other thing is we do street sweeping every other week, but you want us to move our cars, on the days of street sweeping. So that was the other thing. And the last thing that I want to say is about the noise ordinance. Please make it where the noise, people are getting letters, whether, English and Spanish, because the noise in the area is deafening. We have called the police on numerous occasions because the music is like 6 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. People want to party. I love a party, trust me. But when it's time to go to bed, it's time to go to bed. And people continuously turn their speakers up on bass, and the music is deafening. So as those planes go over Prospect, we have noise. So we need to make it so people understand the quality of life, and that everyone needs to be respectful of their neighbors.
Thank you, Ms. Rucker. We'll definitely look into that. You did by chance, are we, are DPWs aware of which truck it is? So could you look into that tomorrow, see what's leaking and why it's leaking and why it hasn't been repaired?
A while back, and I believe it was addressed, but I'll follow up.
Okay, thank you. All right, I need a motion to close the Cal session.
Okay, we just have one that was email in, so I'll
Okay.
get that real fast. It is from Lucille Desperado. I currently reside at the Beechwood Condo. Although it is a lovely home, parking can be extremely difficult. The building has 75 units and there is only enough parking for 65 cars. Imagine having a couple who drives 2 cars, parking for the second car is already hard enough with Hackensack street cleaning schedule. To place a 2-hour restriction around Prospect Avenue area is very frustrating and upsetting. If you are planning to do this, at least please give residents and/or owners of the condos a residential sticker who may be able to park. Or please find a way for our building to have enough parking for at least 1 spot per unit.
Thank you. All right, motion to close the Cal session, please.
You need a motion to close the public.
Motion to close the public, sorry.
Offer.
All in favor? Aye. None opposed? Motion to close the council of the whole.
Offer.
Do you need a motion for the executive session also?
No.
You did that, okay.
Offer.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Recess? It's going to take a 2-minute recess, and we're going to start the second meeting. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm on it.
Is that the corner?
Yeah.
I see. Look.
Council back up here, please.
So please report back to the dais. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Okay. Welcome to the Hackensack City Council meeting on July 19th. For those who just came in, welcome back. It's been 18 months since we've had a council meeting live, and it's good to be back. Madam Clerk?
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6 ed sec notice, which was sent to the record, Star Ledger, and was posted on the municipal bulletin board.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg. Here. Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Battaglia.
Here.
Councilman Carroll.
Here.
Mayor LaBrus.
Here. Would everybody please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. Thank you. Yes, we can do that. Okay. So we do have some proclamations this evening. Only 3, I believe, correct? Yep. The first one I'm going to do is, was Steve Garcia present? Yes. Please come forward. So I have a proclamation for Steve, and it reads, whereas Steve Garcia, a rising junior at Boston University studying biochemistry and molecular biology, and whereas has been studying the piano at the Thurnauer School of Music in Tenafly in 2011 and gave his graduation senior recital in 2019. Now therefore, I, John P. LaRose Jr., Mayor of the City of Hackensack, along with the members of the City Council, do hereby thank Stephen Garcia for his piano performance at the installation ceremony that was held on July 1st, 2021. Thank you so much for that. You did a great job. Not only did you do the national anthem, take it? 4 release. 4 release. That's correct. And wonderful, great piano player. So look out for this young man. He's on the rise. So thank you very, very much. Thank you. Take a quick picture. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
pesos seguro de estudio en mi casa, ¿cómo es todo el ship, what, $70,000? Yeah, that's too bad. Very nice. See you soon. Thank you. Go again.
Congratulations.
I also have two scout presentations tonight. So would Lorenzo Machuro please come forward? He's here? He's not here. Are they here? Were they coming tonight?
I don't think so.
Oh, then I can read these from up there. So these proclamations are both for Eagle Scouts, and anybody who knows anything about scouting, is one of the highest honors you can get in scouting, and it's a tremendous amount of work, and anybody who becomes an Eagle Scout usually goes on to be quite successful. So whereas on November 17, 2019, Lorenzo Machuro was awarded the Boy Scouts' highest honor, the Eagle Scout Award. And whereas the Boy Scouts of America is an organization that aims to develop character, citizenship, and physical and mental health through a broad program of work and play. Whereas Lorenzo has been a Cub Scout, a Boy Scout in Hackensack for 13 years, and he has participated in Hackensack Slam Dunk the Jump for as long as he's been in the troop. He also led a team in creating a new garden and expanded an existing garden for his local school for teaching agriculture, science, and biology. And whereas Lorenzo has also participated in the Memorial Day flag ceremony on Main Street and at the USS Ling. And whereas Lorenzo's fine character and loyal citizenship have been displayed throughout his years of being with the Boy Scouts Troop 5. Now therefore, I, John P. LaRoche Jr., Mayor of the City Council, along with members of the City Council, do hereby extend our sincere congratulations to Eagle Scout Lorenzo Machuro on his current outstanding accomplishment and those to come. Okay. And we have one here for also Alan Gottlieb. On October 25th, 2020, Alan Gottlieb was awarded the Boy Scouts' highest honor, the Eagle Scout Award. And whereas the Boy Scouts of America is an organization that aims to develop character, citizenship, and physical and mental health through a broad program of hard work and play. And whereas Alan and his troop participated in Hackensack Slam Dunk the Junk cleanup multiple times, he has also led his troop in sanding and repainting planters for his town's 2 schools. And whereas Alan Gottlieb's fine character and loyal citizenship has been displayed throughout his years of being with Boy Scout Troop 5. Now therefore, I, John P. LaRoche Jr., Mayor of the City of Hackensack, along with the members of the City Council, do hereby extend our sincere congratulations to Eagle Scout Alan Gottlieb on his current outstanding accomplishments and those to come. So congratulations to those 2 young men. All right, with that, we'll move forward. I'd also like to take 1 minute of silence for all the people who perished or were injured in that horrible building collapse in Miami. We lost over 150 or more of our American citizens in that collapse. And I can't imagine the horror of just being in that building and having it fall down around you. So if we could have a moment of silence. Thank you very much. And with that, we're going to move to approve the minutes of the May 18th, 2021 Executive Cal and the regular Executive Cal session and the regular minutes. And we want to do them all at one time. Is everybody here?
You could do the first 4 together.
Okay, so.
Carol will have to abstain because he wasn't part of the council at the time, and then July 1st, you could do something.
Okay, so in addition to May 18th, we'll do June 1st, 2021 Executive Cal and regular minutes, June 15th, 2021 Executive Cal and regular minutes, and June 22nd, 2021 special meeting minutes. Need a motion, please? Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg. Councilman Machino is absent. Councilman Battaglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Abstain.
And Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. And I need a motion for the July 1st, 2021 reorganization meeting minutes. Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg. Aye. Deputy Mayor Machino is absent. Councilman Battaglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Okay, with that, we will go right into the city manager's report.
Okay. Our next drive-in movie will be July 24th. It is the Tom and Jerry production. Please visit hackpack.org to reserve your tickets. Our Our summer concert series has begun. Tomorrow night, it's Eagle Mania. The next concert will be on the green at 7:30. Many other summer events are scheduled, such as Friday Night Sounds of Summer at the Hackensack, Shakespeare in the Park, and Sunset Yoga, so please refer to our website for updates. The Hackensack Police Department will be hosting our 20th yearly Youth Academy from August 23rd to August 27th. Applications are available at our police department or our website at hackensack.org. That's the Youth Police Academy, which is open for students between 8th and 12th grades. The city has closed on our building department location at 89 Anderson Street, so our building department is currently temporarily located at the rec center at 116 Hull Street. And lastly, Hackensack's National Night Out will be on Tuesday, August 3rd, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. on the green. Come join other city organizations for food, fun, handouts, and safety exhibits. That's all, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to move right into new business. And Resolution 262-21. Ally, I'm not sure where you want to put this amendment to this ordinance. Needs to go.
I need a motion, you need a motion to amend the
So
ordinance.
we need a motion, before we go into that, I need a motion to amend the ordinance that we are looking to adopt.
Offer.
And just before you vote, if you would like an explanation on record for the
Yes.
public. Okay. So the council at its last meeting introduced an ordinance to create a zone for cannabis business, specifically to authorize one cannabis retailer and one cannabis cultivator. And they established an overlay zone along the Route 80 corridor. And since it was introduced and now tonight it's being considered on second reading, there were just some cleanup changes that had to be made to the ordinance to make sure that the language within the ordinance was consistent and that it was consistent with the statute. And there were just some changes, there was a terminology that cannabis cultivation establishment, it should have been cannabis cultivator. Cannabis retail establishment was changed to cannabis retailer, again, to be consistent with the state law that authorized the ordinance that's being adopted. There was a definition of cannabis grower that had been included in a draft because, as you can imagine, this is all new for everyone in the state, and people are borrowing from other towns, and this other town had that definition, and it doesn't apply here because we're limiting it to a cultivator, which is slightly different. And then there were just some other cleanups as far as making sure it was consistent and tight within.
Okay, very good, thank you. So do you need to read the resolution or the amendment?
Stephanie, you did the portion. Yep.
Okay.
And Leo, so now we.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia. Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Okay, so now we move to resolution. Oh, go
No,
ahead.
open to the public. We need a motion to open to the public.
Oh, we need a motion to open to the public on this because it's an
Offer.
amendment.
Offer.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia. Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Anybody from the public who'd like to speak to this amendment to the ordinance, please come forward, give your name to the clerk. Is a 3-minute limit on this? No.
Joel Dawkins, Hackensack resident. Good evening to all. Sitting before us are an employee of a medical company, former employee of a home comfortable living equipment maker, a teacher, a youth coach, and a homemaker. Possible examples of children, family, and home values. Yet, you're here today to hear about a cannabis zone in Hackensack. In their election win, their statement said, building a brighter future for all residents. While they sit, who would stand up for all residents? Cannabis an alternative to other hardcore drugs. Using marijuana can produce stimulant, depressant, and hallucinogenic effects, while hemp is a plant variety derived from the genus Cannabis. It differs in that it contains low concentrations of THC, a chemical compound known for hallucinogenic effects. Cannabis is commonly used as a recreational drug and is usually taken by the mouth or inhaled. Some people take cannabis by the mouth or as a spray to be applied under the tongue for symptoms of multiple sclerosis. Some people also use cannabis for nausea, vomiting, for an eye disease called glaucoma, and many other conditions. But there is no good scientific evidence to support these uses. Today, we see the lawless activities in Manhattan, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island. Drug-stricken K2 addicts, apartment streets inundated with weed, smell as children sleep, play, and drivers openly driving and smoking, with pedestrians, hit-and-run killings increasing. Yet, we build New York-style development units to entice the New York City crowd at New York City prices, all with an eye for money. Yes, money. The driver of destroyed lives and souls across the globe, all at the price of safe streets, safe living, and safe families. The governments of this world wish to seduce us with their prostitution, gambling, and drugs of their lord, the devil. The pandemic has given rise to the promotion of alcohol and spirits, the adoption of illicit drugs, and laws formulating the legal work rights of prostitutes and sex workers. Remove these vices and their promoters from our ranks. The residents of Hackensack wanted a vote for their children, a vote for family values, and community ideals, not full of puppet masters and their carpetbagger tricks and trades. All right? Because we used to be called the land of the big snake, Hackensack. Well, it might be just coming true to life. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public like to speak to this and this only?
I'm not judging anyone who smokes
Right.
weed, wacky, tobacco, whatever it's called. My question is, if my neighbor is smoking in their backyard,
Right.
and I'm trying to sit in my backyard with my grandchildren, what happens? Who has the right? Somebody told me that if we go to the police, there's nothing they can do. So what do I just don't use my backyard anymore or open my windows?
Oh. Is that, I don't know, are you done or?
Yeah, it really does.
That's a good question. I would have that conversation with my neighbor first to say, listen, that's kind of disturbing. You could go in your house and do it or something else. If the smell outside is bothering me and my family. But, yeah, it's,
Maybe 20 years ago, let's say,
yeah, it's,
now you get a little nervous. But I think people that don't smoke
right.
marijuana have rights also.
I agree with that.
I went into Petco. I almost threw up. The guy walked past me, he smelled like, well, to me it smells like skunk. And I'm like, oh my God, and you drove here? It's scary. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Understood.
You know, and, you know, my lungs are shot because I smoked for 50 years. But the next generation shouldn't have to smell it. It's horrible. And it's dangerous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, Mike, I just want to make clear that this ordinance does not govern use in your own home. So that even if you were not to pass this ordinance, the conduct that this woman complained about could still occur, because this has to do with sale that if it's allowed in Lodi or Paramus or what have you, that same person could go there and purchase it legally and bring it to their home and consume it. So just so that the public understands that this ordinance is not allowing it in your backyard.
Correct. Thank you. Anyone else in the public like to speak to this order, to this amendment, and this amendment only?
We don't, it's actually the whole ordinance. It's the whole ordinance.
The whole ordinance?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't read the adoption part, did you?
That's after,
Okay.
after.
Okay. Anyone else? To the ordinance? Seeing none, motion to close to the public?
Offer.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia. Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
And you need a vote to adopt it.
Need a motion to adopt the ordinance, please.
Offer.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia. Council abstain. Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
And Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Okay.
Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Hackensack, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, that the ordinance number 30/2021 has passed its second and final reading and is hereby adopted.
You. And we're going to go to resolution 263-21.
Introduction of ordinance number 31/2021, an ordinance to amend chapter 5 of the Code of the City of Hackensack, Chief Financial Officer, section 5-6, methods of payment of amounts due to the city.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilwoman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 31/2021 as introduced is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on August 16, 2021 at 7:00 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the City Council, and such time and place all persons interested be given the opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of its introduction and passage on the first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
You. Resolution 264-21.
Introduction of ordinance number 32/2021, an ordinance to amend chapter 117 of the Code of the City of Hackensack, parks to prohibit dogs from using the splash pad at the Carver Park and Second Ward Park.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia. Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 32/2021 as introduced is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on August 16, 2021 at 7:00 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the City Council. And at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law, the notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
You. Resolution 265-21. I'm sorry. Need a motion?
Resolution number 265.
Okay. Pulling it? Resolution 266-21.
Resolution 266-21, introduction of ordinance number 34/2021, an ordinance authorizing First Amendment to easement agreement between R&H Hackensack Urban Renewal, the Bergen County Utilities Authority, and the City of Hackensack.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 34/2021 as introduced is now passed on first reading, and that ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on August 16, 2021 at 7:00 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter can be reached at the regular regular meeting place of the city council. And at such time and place, all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. And that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of its introduction and passage on first reading. And of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Thank you. Resolution 267-21.
Resolution designated Meridia Hackensack 151 Urban Renewal LLC, redeveloper of block 82.01, lots 25.01, 27, 28, 30.01, 30.02, and 30.03, and authorizing entry into redevelopment agreement.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Vanderburg. Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Taglia. Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. 268-21.
Introduction of ordinance number 35, 2021, an ordinance authorizing financial agreement for market rate rental apartment project to be constructed upon block 82.01, blocks 25.01, 27, 28, 30.01, 30.02, and 30.03 by Meridia Hackensack 151 Urban Renewal LLC, an urban renewal entity pursuant to the long-term tax exemption law NJSA 40A, :20-1 at sec.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Vanderburg. Aye. Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Taglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 35, 2021, as introduced is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on August 16, 2021, at 7:00 p.m. or as soon thereafter, as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the city council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law, with a notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Thank you. Resolution 269-21.
Introduction of ordinance 36, 2021, in order ordinance authorizing entry of real estate sale agreement with designated redeveloper Meridia Hackensack 151 Urban Renewal LLC for the sale of block 82.01, lots 25.01, 30.01, 30.02, 30.03, the Hackensack Recycling Center site, pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law NJSA 40A: :12-1 at sec within the Green Street redevelopment area.
Thank you. Resolution 270-21. Thompson, need a motion?
Offer. Offer.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Vanderburg. Aye. Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Taglia. Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
And Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 36, 2021 is introduced is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on August 16, 2021 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the city council, and such time as place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law, with the notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and at the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Thank you. Resolution 270-21.
Introduction of ordinance number 37, 2021, an ordinance to amend chapter 67 of the Code of the City of Hackensack, body piercings, ear piercings, and permanent cosmetics to be renamed body piercings, ear piercings, permanent cosmetics, and tattooing to regulate tattoo facilities within the city.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Vanderburg. Aye. Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Battaglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 37, 2021, as introduced is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on August 16, 2021, at 7:00 p.m. or as soon thereafter, as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the city council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law, with the notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Thank you. Resolution 271-21.
Resolution 271-21 is an introduction of ordinance number 38, 2021, the capital ordinance of the city of Hackensack, County of Bergen, authorizing an ordinance for certain capital improvements and acquisitions and appropriating $1,760,000 and providing that such sum so appropriated shall be raised from the fund balance and capital improvement fund of the general capital fund of the city of Hackensack.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg. Aye. Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 38, 2021 is introduced is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on August 16, 2021 at 7 o'clock p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the city council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of introduction and passage on first reading, and at the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Thank you. Resolution 272-21.
Is introduction of ordinance number 39, 2021, ordinance authorizing a special emergency appropriation pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-53B for a citywide tax reassessment.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Second. Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg. Aye. Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 39, 2021 is introduced is now passed on first reading, and the said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on August 16, 2021 at 7 o'clock p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the city council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Second. Roll call?
There was no motion.
Oh, that was a resolution?
I just read that, it was adopted.
Oh.
On to the next one.
Sorry. 273-21. There's so many, I'm losing my place.
Introduction of ordinance number 40, 2021, an ordinance to amend chapter 170 of the Code of the City of Hackensack, Vehicles and Traffic, to add a new handicap parking space in section 49.2, parking for the handicap, Grove Street, and Hamilton Place.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Second. Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg. Aye. Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 40, 2021 is introduced and now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on August 16, 2021 at 7 o'clock p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the city council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Okay. 274-21.
Introduction of ordinance number 41, 2021, bond ordinance providing for various 2021 capital improvements by and in the city of Hackensack, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, appropriating $3,600,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $3,428,200 bonds or notes from the city, of the city, to finance part of the cost thereof.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg. Aye. Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 41, 2021 is introduced and now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on August 16, 2021 at 7 o'clock p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the city council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Resolution 275-21.
Introduction of ordinance number 42, 2021, an ordinance to amend Part 2, general legislation of the Code of the City of Hackensack to establish a new Chapter 69, cannabis businesses.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Second. Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg. Aye. Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 42, 2021 is introduced and now passed on first reading, and that the said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held August 16, 2021 at 7 o'clock p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the city council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law, with a notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Thank you. Resolution 276-21.
Resolution authorizing settlement of litigation entitled James Walker vs. City of Hackensack, claim petition 2013-28433, pending in the New Jersey Division of Workers' Compensation.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 277-21.
Resolution requesting approval of items of revenue and appropriation for COVID-19 vaccination supplemental funding.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 278-21.
Resolution requesting approval of items of revenue and appropriation, Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation grant.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 279-21.
Resolution authorizing the awarding of a state contract for purchase of 5 2021 Dodge Charger police vehicles.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye. Abstain.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 280-21.
Resolution authorizing the release of the safety stabilization bond for the Hackensack Meridia Health Rose Garden project.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
I will abstain. Resolution 281-21.
Resolution awarding contract for NPP grant application assistance to DMR architecture.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 282-21.
Resolution awarding contract for architectural design and construction management services for the building department relocation project to DMR architecture.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia. Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 283.
Resolution awarding change order number 1 to Cifelli and Sons for Main Street Streetscape Atlantic Street to Mercer Street.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 284-21.
Resolution awarding change order number 1 to Cifelli and Sons for Main Street Streetscape from Mercer Street to Barry Street.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 285?
281.
Resolution 285-21.
Resolution awarding change order number 1 to New Prince Concrete Construction for Johnson Park entrance driveway improvements.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll
Councilwoman
call.
Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 286-21.
Resolution awarding change order number 1 to La Forza Construction LLC for Johnson Park Master Improvement Project Phase 1A.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 287-21.
Resolution awarding contract for environmental and master planning services for Cashini Park to Suburban Consulting Engineers.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 288-21.
Resolution authorizing the cancellation of improvement authorization balances in the general capital fund.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 289-21.
Resolution authorizing the awarding of co-op contract for emergency storm and sanitary sewer repairs to William J. Girardi, Inc.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 290-21.
Resolution authorizing the awarding of co-op contract for emergency storm and sanitary sewer repairs to Joseph M. Sanzari, Inc.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 291-21.
Resolution awarding contract for citywide reassessment to Associated Appraisal Group.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia. Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 292-21.
Resolution rejecting all bids for Atlantic Street Parking Garage Rehabilitation Project.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia. Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 293-21.
Resolution authorizing tax refund for duplicate payments, state board judgments, and tax evasion.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution, that was 293.
Yep.
Resolution 294-21.
Resolution authorizing health department refund.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 295-21.
Resolution accepting redeveloper's contribution to an open space trust fund and authorizing First Amendment to redevelopment agreement with Waypoint Hackensack Urban Renewal Owner LLC, 435 Main Street.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 295, or 296-21.
Resolution authorizing a revised direct connection agreement between R&H Hackensack Urban Renewal and the Bergen County Utilities Authority and the City of Hackensack.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia. Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 297-21.
Resolution authorizing the City of Hackensack to enter into an agreement with the Hackensack Public School District regarding school nurse services for non-public schools for the Bergen County Christian Academy.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia. Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 298-21.
Resolution A, providing for the combination of certain bond ordinances and determining the form and other details of the offering of $28 million general improvement bonds, Series 2021 of the City of Hackensack, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, and providing for their sale, and B, authorizing the sale and issuance of $3,469,000 bond anticipation notes, Series 2021 of the city.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 299-21.
Authorizing payment of bills.
Need a motion to pay the bills.
Offer.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Okay, before we go into consent agenda, I know Councilman Carroll needs a resolution pulled. I believe it's 300-21, correct?
Correct.
Anyone else have any conflicts in here?
There should be two that I think were
Yes.
300-21 and 304 dash.
300 and 304 are going to be pulled and voted on separately. Okay, so 39 and 43 are out. Anybody else have any conflicts?
Following items are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted in one motion. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certificate of availability of funds. Any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda, and consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes, including any exceptions and/or additions. The consent agenda will consist of Resolution 301 through Resolution 313-21, with the exception of 300 and 304, which are 301 is authorizing an ambulance reimbursement, 302 authorizing ambulance reimbursement, 303 authorizing advertisement of bids for Pine Street roadway drainage improvements. Resolution 304 is a resolution awarding execution of grant. We pulled that one. 305, resolution appointing Susan Banson and Ryan Westra as members of the Bergen County Regional Community Development Committee. Resolution 306 is authorizing a person-to-person liquor license transfer of Solari's Restaurant, Inc. to Tavern 61 LLC. Resolution 307, authorizing endorsement of proposed Bergen County Community Development grants. Resolution 308, authorizing approval to submit grant application and execute grant agreement with NJ DOT for intersection of Essex Street and Railroad Ave improvement project. Resolution 309, authorizing approval to submit grant application and execute grant contract with the New Jersey DOT for Summit Ave roadway improvements. Resolution 310, authorizing raffle license. 311, authorizing neighborhood preservation program for Hackensack Anderson Street Historic Neighborhood District. Resolution 312, adopting the City of Hackensack procedure for administration and inspection of federal highway projects. And Resolution 313 is entering into an agreement with Greater Bergen Community Action, a 501c3 nonprofit agency, to administer the neighborhood preservation program.
Allison, I'm going to ask you that you pull 310-21. It'll be read separate. Okay, so I need a motion to accept the consent agenda as it was read without the three that were pulled.
Offer.
Second. Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg. Aye. Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Now, Resolution 300 is a resolution accepting the New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety, Office of Attorney General grant for body-worn cameras. Offer.
Second. Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Abstain.
And Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Resolution 304-21, resolution authorizing the execution of a grant award agreement under award number 21-BWC-174 between the State of New Jersey, Office of Attorney General, Department of Law and Public Safety, and the City of Hackensack through the K Fiscal Year 21 Body Worn Camera Grant Program.
Need a motion?
Offer.
Second. Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Abstain.
And Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
And Resolution 310-2021 is a resolution authorizing raffle license for Volunteer Center, Bergen County, and Unico of Hackensack.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second. Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
And Mayor LaBrus.
I will abstain. And that is it. It's quite a large, been doing this for a while, and that might be the largest docket we've ever done in one night. There's a lot of stuff on there. A lot of work. So I need a motion to open to the public, please.
Offer.
Second. Roll call?
Councilwoman Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino is absent. Councilman Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilman Carroll.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Okay. Anybody from the public who'd like to speak, you may come forward. Please give your name to the clerk. I'm going to remind everybody that we now have a 3-minute clock there. We are not going to interrupt you during your public comments. And in 3 minutes, your time will be up. Thank you.
Good evening. Marty Smith, Prospect Avenue, member of the Hackensack Condo Co-op Advisory Board. I'd like to return to two issues that have been brought to the attention of the council in the past. The first issue is of the intersection of 2nd Street and Central Avenue in regard to traffic safety devices. Currently, there are 6 at this location: 2 designated crosswalks, 2 traffic safety stanchions, and 2 pedestrian signs. Whereas the intersection of Summit and Golf Place has 3 safety devices, 1 designated crosswalk, and 2 pedestrian signs. Both of these locations have houses of worship located at those points. Mr. Ehrenberg, of blessed memory, said he would check on why this disparity exists. I don't know if he was able to make inquiries concerning this situation before his untimely passing. But if there is currently any information in regard to this situation in the city manager's office, our committee would appreciate being informed. If there is none, we would appreciate our city manager doing follow-up on this issue. The second item concerns the intersection of Prospect and Passaic for northbound traffic. There is a merge point for northbound traffic on the north side of Passaic Street. Our committee has suggested as long as 2 years ago, when I did a ride-along with Lieutenant Patel of the Traffic Department, that the interior lane of Prospect Avenue for northbound traffic be made a dedicated left turn lane, leaving the curbside lane as a straight-through or right turn lane. This would eliminate the merge point on the north side of Passaic Street, and we could remove the current merge sign that is currently there. No action has been taken on this, and I rode with Lieutenant Patel in November of 2019. I'd like to remind you that currently, Summit and Passaic, the intersection, have dedicated left turns on Summit Avenue for both north and southbound traffic. Summit Avenue and Essex Street intersection both have dedicated left turns. And Prospect Avenue at Essex Street has dedicated left turns on Prospect Avenue for both north and southbound traffic. I think it's time that the city took action to remove this danger on Prospect Avenue for northbound traffic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And Tom, you'll look into that. One of the things that has to be looked at on, where, I guess it was Golf and Prospect, is whether their new handicap curbs are, the new access curbs are installed or not. I don't know if they are.
It's gonna be like a steep.
Okay. Next person from the public, please.
Hello, Steven Garcia. I just wanted to say thank you again for allowing me to play at the inauguration. I was born in Hackensack, went through the elementary public school system there, played at the rec center there, basketball, soccer, so I'm very happy to be a Hackensack citizen, and so it always brings me a lot of joy being able to come back and do stuff for you guys. So when I got the call, hey, like, do you want to come down and play, I was absolutely thrilled, because every time that I come back here, I always get happy because I only have good memories. So thank you guys again.
Thank you. You did a great job, dude. Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, Reverend Carolyn Davis.
Ma'am.
Welcome, Mr. Carroll. This does not involve you because you're new in the council, but you have probably heard us up here many times talking about this very issue. I did not have chance to make copies and pictures again. I have lived on Stanley Place in Hackensack now for 47 years. And for 47 years, I have dealt with flooding in my basement. We came a couple years ago talking about the same issue. I'm very grateful to our past city manager, Ted, who did start an effort to try and have this cleaned. But apparently that is not enough. We have neighbors here, even from James Street. All of our blocks get flooded. I don't mean water that covers my shoes. You could row a rowboat down our street. And again, I can't show you, everybody want to show this city manager, you can't see the sidewalk
I was there that day.
It's horrible. The taxes that you say you're saving us, people spend in cleaning out their basements every single time. Cars get ruined. Furniture gets ruined. This happens all the time. I'd rather pay the increase in taxes because it'd probably be less than what we have to spend every time. Getting new sump pumps, putting French drains in, over and over again. I think 47 years is long enough to talk about having patience with dealing with a problem, even though we only really started complaining about it a couple years ago. For 47 years, we've been cleaning out our basements. It is an EPA violation. We get sewer water and sewage, and I don't know how much longer we can keep coming and asking. This development that's going on is going to make our streets even worse. The infrastructure needs to be repaired on our streets. We can no longer live like this. It's horrible. And anybody who doesn't come on our block and doesn't know this, I invite you. You can't see it. Hackensack, if I'm not mistaken, was the only town in Bergen County that made the news. I had relatives from down south calling me to ask me were we okay. It was so bad. I don't think you can ask any more of us, because I think we've been patient long enough. It has to be taken care of. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Rucker, if you could just give me 1 minute to respond, please, thank you. We are working on it. As you know, the project's put in place for the stormwater system that's going to be installed all the way up from James and Clay up on the hill down. This has been an ongoing problem for a long, long time. This is the first council, and I got to say, you say the redevelopment's going to make it worse. The redevelopment's going to make it better. Those buildings are required to have underground water retention systems that make it much better than it was before they came in. Much, much better before they came in. And we can't go back and forth, Ms. Davis, all right? But I just want to make it clear. We are moving forward with this, but it's going to happen, but this takes time. You just don't wake up, okay, we're going to do it, and the next day it's done. Ma'am, please, no motions from the thing. We have been working tirelessly, and the funding from these buildings that are going up is what's paying for, or help to pay for these new projects, these stormwater projects. We've been working on it, believe me, it's happening. It's, and I find it a little ridiculous that you think Hackensack is the only town in Bergen County that flooded. It's the only one that was advertised because that's what they do. They pick the biggest city in the county and they come here. We have a lot of flooding. There's flooding. I had tons of water in my basement. I live on Brook Street. I've had flooding since I moved here 42 years ago in my house. I've had at least 30 or 40 times I had water. It's the only one that was, right. That's exactly, they chose Hackensack, all right? We're the largest city, we live on a river. We're, a city on a river is gonna have more flooding than a city on a hill, all right? So, what else was I gonna say? Anyway, Ms. Rucker, go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Once again. I'm going to kind of finish off on the back of Reverend Davis. I came here before, stood here, once again, talking about the floodings of Stanley Place and the other surrounding streets that make up the 3rd and 4th Ward. This area sits in the valley of the city of Hackensack. And as the homes that are built over a brook are mostly owned by Black and brown people. Many occasions of the past residents have stood before this council, excluding Mr. Carroll, and spoke about this issue. What we received was the DPW coming to clean out the sewer systems and the catch basins. But our former city manager, Ted, passed away, and then everything stopped. The bacteria that enters our home is toxic. It breaks down our foundations of our home, as well as the resale value. It creates health issues with mold and mildew and spores that can create respiratory issues. We continue to get presentations from the company that the city has hired, while homeowners have lost memories of personal items that they can't get back, but have to throw away. We want no more presentations, we want results. If this city council was smart when they were doing their negotiations of contracts, which I have one right here in my hand, of the infrastructure of fixing the streets, instead of giving away the city with pilot programs for 30 years or more, so we don't have to talk about this no more. We want results. We're getting ready to have a development around the corner on Anderson Street, which is the old Rudy's restaurant. They gave $550,000 to put into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, but instead they should have been given the 10%, because that $550,000 could have helped fix the streets. We're going to have more issues around that corner and in this area because of this building that's coming. You guys keep saying, we're fixing it, we're fixing it, we're fixing it. But guess what? What happens to our homes? Do you understand how much damage is being done to the property? But you don't care. I've said it before. Brown and black people or homeowners in this area. So for me, when you keep saying, when I said to you before about racist and race, this is a racial issue. Let's correct this problem as quickly as possible. Let us not keep talking what you're doing or going to do. And I don't want to see 2 or 3 years down the line. I need to see this happen as soon as possible.
Ms. Rucker, I'm a little new to the game, but I would like to respond, only because I was out on those streets that night, and the reason I was there is because the mayor actually called me and said, you need to get down to this area and see what's going on here, and I did. And I was down there for several hours, mostly on Berry, because the other streets eventually did drain. Berry never drained. I was there with Suburban Consulting Engineers, I was there with our DPW, and helping to identify the problems. But well, you know, and I had this discussion with some of the homeowners there that night. Believe me, it's a horrific situation what's going on in your basements. I personally can feel for it. But please understand, and I confirmed this number with the CFO today, this council has appropriated $26 million over the last 2 years towards sewer separation projects that are specifically going to affect the way that the streets flood. But understand, we have to start where the water goes. All the stormwater goes out to the Hackensack River. So the first phase of the project has to be to increase there and start working back. It doesn't do any good to increase the capacity up by you guys, putting it into smaller pipes still. It's not going to go anywhere. It's still going to back up into you. So it has to, the bigger pipe has to start at the river, and that phase one. No, and there's 3 phases of the project. I mean, you know, Suburban is 4 phases. The CFO just reminded me. And it is going to take time, honestly. And believe me, I was down there. I was sloshing through the water. I was trying to help unclog those mid-street, you know, manholes that were stuffed up. But it's not easy to say, but you're going to need patience because the first phase is done. No, I know. I'm just telling you from what I've been educated into and what I've found out in the past couple weeks is that phase 1 is done, and they just have to increase the pipe starting at the river, otherwise it can't go anywhere. The only other thing I will say, which I wasn't aware of this, and maybe some people who are listening may not be aware of this, but if you're getting sewer backed up through your sewer line in the basement, like maybe into a toilet, and if you...
No, it wasn't in the toilet. Okay. Let me tell you how forceful the water was. Okay. The water took the cap off of our drain.
The clean out?
Right.
Yeah.
We have 2 sub pumps.
Uh-huh.
The sub pumps were covered. When I say covered, we stepped into 3 feet of sewer with feces and everything else in our basement.
Do you have a backflow preventer?
We have everything that...
No, and I just say that because some people don't understand that. If you install a backflow preventer on your lateral, which comes off the street, that should prevent any backflow from coming in. Okay. But please just confirm that. Maybe. Yeah.
Was a pump.
Well, I understand it, but if it's coming through your sewer line, please just check with your plumber because that backflow preventer must not be operating.
No, it's operating. I've had the plumber come out.
Well, then it shouldn't back up. Okay.
No, it does.
Yeah.
When the cap gets forced off and the water is gushing through.
I understand that, but the backflow. Yeah, I get it.
Guys, wait. The object of the new
I just wanted
timer
to tell
was
you what I
to avoid
do,
the
that's
back and forth. Thank you.
John, you mentioned the, I'm Rich Servo from Spring Valley Ave. And I'm gonna bring up Spring Valley Avenue in a minute, but You mentioned the docket and how long it was. I mean, come on, we haven't been here in so long. So what's the big deal? We haven't been here in a year and a half. Where the heck have you been except on Zoom? And look, Zoom and this technology, moving ahead doesn't work. We need face-to-face discussions about everything. And here, I mean, we discuss a few things here. What do we got? 10 more minutes, 20 minutes? You need to have some kind of open session where there's a lot of discussion about everything. People have things to discuss. There's not many people here. I guess they're getting used to this technology, which is just not the same as face-to-face, okay? And so, all right, let me go back to where I was earlier. I said things about parking, and parking, there's always been a parking problem in this city, and it needs to be corrected. So why not get there, do it? Have free parking, more free lots, more free areas to park. Why not more parking garages, okay? Free ones, something, do something. The parking is horrendous in the city. I can't even park at the friggin' library. There's no place to park. You can't go there. Oh, gee, I just stopped. I gotta pick up a couple books. I'll double park. Although they do now have a double parking space at the library, so you can run in and pick up a book. Okay, so that's one thing. Now let me get back, because I know I'm gonna get cut off soon, that Spring Valley Avenue is a raceway. Mr. City Manager. It's a raceway, and it's not police. Lots of places, police are backing off. They're not policing anything. There are people going 60 miles an hour on Spring Valley Avenue. And I called the city manager's office to tell them about it, and at least they're listening. They are. If you call the front desk or call the police about traffic and speeding, whoa, they'll say, sorry, pal, they'll put you off, we don't want to hear it, okay? So the city manager gets my complaints, and the girls in the office are welcoming, they at least give it an effort to do something about it. But please, I'm telling you, buses are going 55, 60 miles an hour on Spring Valley Avenue, coming down the hill to Main Street, okay? Check it out sometimes. It's dangerous, too. So, I guess that's about it. I got 3 seconds. Thanks. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, sir.
Get late flooding against the.
If I just want to make one comment, we certainly didn't have much choice but to have Zoom meetings. Government ordered. I mean, I don't know, Mr. Serbo, I'm sure you were aware there was a pretty big pandemic going on. And no, you can't, we're not going to go back and forth, Rich, but we had to have Zoom meetings. That was the only way we could carry on business. We've been doing dockets the whole time, every meeting. All right, this is just a very large docket, that's all I was saying.
18-month masquerade. Thank you, John.
Okay, so what was the alternative, sir?
There were plenty of alternatives.
All right, there was no pandemic, right?
There were plenty of them.
Sir? Father, how are you?
Good evening, Father Brian Lafler, St. Anthony's Church.
Sir?
72 Lodi Street, Hackensack. Tonight I'm here to talk about flooding as well. We've had a lot recently, going back to last summer, July 6th and July 10th, we had severe storms in the neighborhood. And I've noticed that in the past 7 years, the environment has changed in some way, that we have more of these backups of really sewer water into St. Anthony's Parish Hall. I'm also here to speak to several homes, Holt Street, Lodi Street, that have the same phenomenon of flooding, as well as the corner of Campbell Avenue and Grove Street, and people that live along Grove Street, folks that are active members of our parish, and neighbors that I've known. I've been in all of these homes. Everyone talks about the amount of flooding and the amount of backup. St. Anthony's, we sustained $25,000 in damage from last summer that we still haven't. We're just getting around to repairing because there just haven't been the workmen available to us during the pandemic. So we're in the process of dealing with that. We did put check valves in this week into our toilets in our bathrooms in the basement of the parish hall. That seems to have alleviated the problem. We didn't have water this past Saturday, but I'm hoping that that's it for us. However, I do know that a lot of sewer repair is going to be happening, and the repaving of streets in our neighborhood is going to be happening. I just want to hold that up as to look at ask this council to look at the total picture and see how best that situation can be resolved. I'm glad to hear that phase one of the projects towards resolve. And I know it's a citywide problem, and it's not just our neighborhood. So thank you for hearing this.
Thank you, Father Lockwood. Appreciate it. Next person, please. Name to the clerk.
Hello, my name is Beatrice Rodriguez. I'm coming for the same problem. When I bought my house in 2003, we never told me that it's a flooding area, so I never paid the insurance for flooding. Now we have more problem with the salt water. It's not the same as raining water, because the raining water is clear. But the salt water, you don't want to see my basement. The last Thursday it wasn't raining. It was terrible. Still today it smells terrible. And it's dangerous for us.
Where do you live, I'm sorry?
I live in 59 Campbell Avenue, right in the corner. They changed the corner. That day, they already finished. And they left the hole next to the drain in the corner. They left to the hole. And the problem is, a lot of neighbors, they came for the same problem. I called the city and they sent me email. They sent me the email and I spoke with Patricia Steven, because my English is not so good. So she helped me and she sent the letter to Joy and Susan Benson. They told me, they recommended me to install the backflow preventer. But why? Now I have to pay $5,000. I don't know how much they're going to charge me for that. Because it's not my problem, it's not my house problem. It's the street problem, the city problem. Why I have to spend my money now for that? It's like woman. I have problem in my kidneys. I have problem probably in my liver. But oh no, put in makeup. Probably with the makeup you feel better. No, it's not working like that. I need the please. I just say please. Do something for us. Do something. We don't need the corner nice. We don't need the nice street with red blocks. We need to make it something really big for the salt water. Because I understand, in Green Street long time ago, it was a flooding area, terrible. They put the big one, call it pipe, and now the water is coming to my street. So how the water is going? They don't have the space to the water go. So what can I do? Tell me what I'm supposed to do with my house.
But first, I want to let you finish before I start, because your time is up, but I want to, again, let's have Suburban just check out that area.
Yeah, Mayor and residents, this has been thoroughly vetted. It's been on the topic, the daily topic for the past couple of days. I have an email here just from today. This is regarding Grove and Campbell. There was some concern, I'll say confusion about the sewers there. The sewers are not combined there. The sewers were previously separated in that area, so the storm improvements or the conditions with the rain have no effect on the sanitary system since the area is already separated.
Right.
So the backup of sewerage into the residents' basements should not have been affected by the storm at all. Yeah. But but I'm saying that the stormwater and the sewer. Okay.
3-4 house from the corner.
And so, step number 2 on the response from our project managers and Neglia, under Neglia's oversight, Smith's Sandy reconstructed the catch basins at the intersection and added additional drainage. The DPW and Project Management Department verified the main appears to be flowing normally and the catch basins were clear and dry. We informed Neglia and requested SCE to inspect and advise again. It should be noted that the DPW and the project management have not received any sewer complaints of this area prior to July 12th. So prior to July 12th, have you ever brought this to the attention of the DPW or the?
I called after the
Okay.
training and even before.
Okay.
I usually call.
So the first reported issue that we received, and this is from the project managers to the city manager's office, was on July 12th, where the resident, 59 Campbell, reported sewage backup in the basement. The resident confirmed there was no backflow preventer installed in the lateral. The project management advised the resident to engage a licensed plumber to inspect their lateral to verify the condition and to install a backflow preventer. All property owners are responsible for their lateral through the connection to the city main. The city is responsible for the main area. So project management went there, they had Neglia go there. They're paving the streets, but the actual storm sewers have been upgraded. You know, the catch basins on the corners were upgraded.
Right.
It's separated, so it doesn't make sense that the inundation of storm water should not have added to any sewer backup there because they're separated.
Let's, I know a lot of you people, if I may, please. I know a lot of you, or most of you are going to disagree with me, but that was a storm that we haven't seen like that, and I can't tell you when. We had 5 inches of rain in 1 hour. 1 hour. You're talking about a different storm?
Every time when it's heavy raining, that happens to us. Every time. When they check the green
The sewers are separated.
the pipes and green and green, that happens to us.
On Green Street?
Yeah, but they do a long time ago.
Well, we need to, please, we have to stop back and forth. That's not the decorum of the meeting, all right? Everybody gets their 3 minutes, all right? We're trying to solve a problem here, but if you're going to yell at us from the audience, nothing will get solved. It's just not going to happen, okay? I need you to get Suburban to see if there's any breach into the sewers from the stormwater system. Something has to be going on. If the stormwater is overflowing and we're getting sewer backups in the basement, there has to be something wrong. So let's check it out, all right? Let them check it out. Throw some cameras down there, find out where this stuff is going, all right? Next person? Sir?
My question is to Stephanie, and Kathy is not here, but I have a question. You and Kathy have made a point to state that you two are involved with the Board of Education, you meet with them on a monthly basis. My question is, do you and Kathy believe in critical thinking theory? Looking for a straight answer. I don't want no political answer. It's a yes or no.
Stop, can you stop the clock? Stop the clock. You got the clock? Stop. Could you tell me what it has to do with city business, sir? This is about city business.
They said they involved with the Board of Education.
So you're telling me, but
It has a lot to do with.
what is them being involved with the Board of Education have to do with critical race theory?
What their process of thinking.
No, that's not part of city business. That's
Then why are they involved with the Board of Education?
because there's a liaison between the Board of Education and the city council.
So what is their position?
What is this? I have no idea what the Board of Education's position. Excuse me, but you're asking her, it's a trap question. I'm not gonna, that is a trap. That's a trap question.
No, I'm gonna tell you why. Because I asked the same questions on the Board of Education. I sit on the committee. And I ask the same question amongst the educators. How's a trap question? It's a yes or no.
Mr. Geddes, all we discuss is how we can work together on different things. Usually it's facilities, how we can support the schools and, different initiatives. We don't really talk about curriculum, we don't talk about
If I may,
anything.
have you ever discussed critical
Never,
race theory
never,
with the Board of Ed?
never.
It's never been discussed?
Never. No.
Right? So now if you're asking her as a city council member, not as a liaison, okay? Hasn't been discussed, hasn't been brought up to her, doesn't belong here.
Well, it belongs anywhere it goes. I have the right to ask the question. I have the right to ask you.
You most certainly do. You can ask me. And you know what? I have the right not to answer.
Okay, then that gives me my answer.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it
Absolutely does not.
Yes, it does.
Absolutely does not.
Since you brought it up like that, it gives me
I
my
didn't bring it
answer.
up, sir, you did.
No. Since you
Right.
answered me like that, so.
You have 3 minutes to direct your questions to
That is my question.
her.
And then what about you, John? Do you believe in critical race theory?
I'm not going to answer any of that because I don't even know that much about it.
You
I
know,
haven't studied it. I've heard of it.
Simplify what it is. It's, have you heard of?
Did you start the clock?
Yes, sir. Have you ever heard of the Amistad Petition?
No.
Have you, Stephanie?
No.
And you're an educator.
I'm a supervisor of special
You're an
ed.
educator.
I'm a supervisor of special education.
Okay. It's only been a law for 20 years. You don't even know what the law is. You should read up on that.
That's true.
All right. If you work in education, you don't know what the Amistad law is. Okay. And John, do you believe in critical race theory? Since you brought it up, then I can ask you.
Sir, like I said, I don't know enough about it.
It's
All
about,
right?
you know what it is, John?
You
It's
want to sit and
simple.
have a discussion
It's
with me?
simple. It's about history. The African American experience in America. That's all it's about.
Okay.
And you don't know nothing about it.
The only thing I've seen in critical race theory is that it was meant to be taught in colleges, not in lower education, secondary education, or
That's what the
primary
Hackensack
education or
program-
elementary
That's
education.
what the
That's all I know about it.
Hackensack initiative does.
That's all I know about it.
In the whole state of New Jersey, it's a law that you must teach history, African American history in every subject.
I don't have an issue with that.
Okay.
If you're telling me that's all critical race theory is it's teaching of African American history, I don't have an issue with that. We all our history should be studied and celebrated. Everybody, every single person in this room's history should be celebrated.
But we're talking about African American history, and you know, and I know, has never been properly taught in the school system in America. You know that. John, don't.
Mr. Gaddis, I moved to this town. I could have moved to any town I wanted to. I grew up here as a child. Let me finish. I moved away. I moved back here because I wanted my children to experience diversity. All right, I wanted them to grow up with all different types of people. That's why I'm still here. All right? If that doesn't please you, I can't please you then. I'm sorry. But your time is up. Thank you, Victor. Appreciate it.
I got my answer.
Most certainly did.
Yep. So when I say you a racist,
Next, please.
don't say no.
I beg your pardon?
You heard me. When I call you a racist, you have no comment.
No, that's a derogatory comment, sir. Thank you very much for that. Ma'am, how are you?
Good evening. My name is Helen Franklin. I live at 200 James Street, Hackensack. Well, I'm not going to do on the flood issue because everyone's talked about it. I had enough water in my basement I could have fished. But anyway, I'm concerned about the fireworks. We have I live on James Street, it's James Street, Berry Street, Stanley Place. It's ridiculous. I mean, they're not little ones like when I grew up with pop, pop, pop. It's like your whole house shakes. We have a new young man and his family moved in on James Street, and he had a party, which is okay. They're young, but they brought out these fireworks that they could have blew up an airplane. So we all ran down and told him that you cannot do this. He says, well, I'm from the Bronx. We do this over there. He said, well, you can't do this here. He told us to go home and mind your business. So we were all calling the cops, we was trying to tell them what was going on. They came as fast as they could because they had to go on Berry Street. They had to go to Stanley Place. And when they finally came was one officer, and the young man was like, can't tell me what to do. I mean, he had 3 big bags, the black garbage bags of fireworks. It was these big red ones. and he was just exploding them, it could have went to anybody's houses and caught on fire. And if we had went to him, he would say, well, I didn't do anything. But the police officer had backup, and then they all started going back into the yard. And when the officers left, they kept on doing but small ones. My question and concern is getting ridiculous with these fireworks. Now, up James Street is 2nd Street and James Street. It's like every weekend. It's on, I think it's Badam Place, they're there. I think it's Stanley, it's not too much on Stanley Place. But I'm concerned because all it takes is one. Your house is on fire, okay? And nobody knows what happened to it. I didn't do it. So I'm just asking you, now, I know there's an ordinance. You have to either send it out to people or something, but it's very scary. Because I don't want to lose my home, and I'm quite sure no one else here wants to lose their home. But it's getting ridiculous now with these gigantic fireworks. Every weekend is just crazy. It is getting out of hand. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Could I ask you before you leave real quick, was this just around 4th of July, or this is totally separate time?
Before
All the
that.
time?
But this particular young person, the couple that moved in, he had a party.
Okay.
And he came out with these 3 big bags. My neighbor, she went up the street, you said, you can't do this. And I was screaming, you can't do this on this block. The houses are too close. Go down to the park. He told us to shut up, we can do what we want to do.
That's a little
So
rude.
we was calling, the police officers
Yeah.
to come. Because the lady across from him, she opened the door and said, you can't do it. He said, go back in your house.
Yeah.
I can do what I want to do.
One of the things that are making it tougher is statewide, they made fireworks legal 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's made it very much harder.
It's getting,
But,
it's getting scary, it's getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you can't approach them, because right away it's an argument, okay? Next thing you know, you have a fireworks in your window.
Right,
So
I hear you.
today it's not like it used to be. I've been here many years, because you could say, it's okay, have a few. But these fireworks was ridiculous. I mean, it blew up it was exploding the whole block. I said, what is this? I mean, the houses were shaking.
He's gonna have it looked into.
Yeah.
All right?
I can give you the number of the house, too.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, next?
Hackensack. I'm objecting to Resolution 275-21, which is the City Code of Hackensack to establish a new Chapter 61 cannabis businesses. We had Inglewood and Teaneck already say no to any cannabis zones or businesses in their area, but Hackensack has proved to do otherwise, it seems. If you go out to Billburn, Parsippany, Caldwell, Cedar Grove, this will never get passed through, but Hackensack has seemed to do something different. Of the 5 people that sit on this city council, they had a total of 8,673 votes, while the other 10 candidates had a total of 9,893 votes. So basically, what I'm saying is the residents of Hackensack, you gotta voice your concerns and apply the moral pressure that is necessary to make the change.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am? Give your name to the clerk, please.
Marie Dukes, 175 James Street, Hackensack, New Jersey. I just have a few corrections that I just want to make clear. For the water sewage problem, everyone has known me since 1995, and I've spoken to some of the city councils, and I think you recognize my name in a couple of my letters to you back in 2003 when we took a couple of people to court to prevent building and won. James Street won. our Black Association won those cases, and I think that we'll have to do it again. Now, the city of Hackensack, because they failed, the city of Hackensack, and you can take it to Summit, 3 judges, because the city of Hackensack failed to intervene properly for that one incident with the zoning. You had to pay something like $11,000 to the other party, because as a right of interveners in the city of Hackensack as residents, we had a right to fight it, but the city failed to represent properly, and that's why you had to pay that fine. Just, I'm not gonna give you the transcript. I paid for it, you pay for the transcript too. The other part of it is, and there's a law in the United States that you can act as an intervener when your city fails to represent you properly. So everybody, let's think about this. If our city is not representing us properly, we need to act as interveners and go after the city. And win. But we did. So I also wanted to, I'm sorry, I never got to meet you. I had been busy.
Tom Freeman.
Okay, the backflow valve, because of the pressure, now
They don't hold?
they do not hold. And I put 2 in at different distance to level when the first one
Sure.
cracks, to slow the pressure down so it doesn't meet the second one. But it's not fair for the residents to have to come up with that kind of money. I actually think I have 3. One under, you can come to my house, and I did a camera. I have camera footage from the house to the street. And I think we really did a lot with the zoning.
What year was that?
From 2003 to 2007. No?
No, that wasn't me.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I'll go to the zoning.
Okay.
I'll get them better than me. And I'll share with you some quick. So for fireworks.
Go ahead, can you finish up, because your time is
Fireworks
up.
are not legal in the state of New Jersey. That was the big.
I disagree. I just went,
Well, I'm reading.
July
I'm
4th
reading-
weekend, the supermarket had boxes and boxes of them for sale.
I got to look. Let me help.
He's the fire chief, I think he might know a little bit about that one. Ma'am, our 3 minutes is up.
Why don't you send it to me? But
Okay, it says it gives you the sparklers and different things, and that's what that say going to the.
I can tell you for sure that fireworks were, certain
But
fireworks
all
were
other
legalized.
fireworks remain illegal, including all explosives, which you was doing on all of those box. Aerial fireworks,
Ma'am,
which he was doing
Ma'am,
on all
your
those
time is up and a young lady is waiting.
firecrackers, skyrockets, fire
Ma'am.
rockets, Roman candles,
Ma'am.
and small devices. Would you mind me taking a
No, ma'am, there's a set time, 3 minutes. I am sorry.
Somebody come up and give me their minute?
No, you can't do that, I'm sorry.
You can't, it's a law.
No, it's not a law.
Yes, it is. We did it for the water.
I'm Jackie Lynch.
Ma'am?
I'm not sure if this pertains, this is my first time coming here.
How are you?
But I'm the owner of the Community Resource Center.
Mhm.
And I have been running programs for years. This is the complaint, this is something that I wanted to say. Many people came up and said they weren't offering anything when it comes to like tennis for young ladies and those type of things.
Yes.
My niece teaches at one of the colleges in Georgia, and she's coming up, and that's one of the programs that we actually are offering. She's a basketball court coach. Right now, they're not working for whatever reason. So that's one of the things that we're actually starting.
That would be-
So when I heard that,
Yeah.
I said, wow, we're gonna be doing it in the park though.
Okay.
We don't charge any fees. I actually offer tutoring. Right now, I'm working with college students where I help them get I'm a Delta, so I help them get their scholarships. I have some seniors working for me. We weren't paying them, it's just a way of giving back. So I have a lot of programs this year that I'll be offering. Because one of the things that I did notice is that at the centers that are around the different things, they don't offer those kind of programs. The other, one of my main programs is I wanted to work with the police department because it's about gun violence and that type of thing. So we usually talk on Zoom, you know, discussing, hey, what do you do if this happens? What do you do if that happens? How do you respond? That's for men and for women. So there's a lot of programs, and I still do a lot of counseling with infertility, people who are going through divorce, as well as taxes and finance. We do a lot of things. There is no charge. I am not nonprofit. I was just blessed. So this is my way of just giving back. So I just wanted to, you know, offer that. One of the things is I own the building. I paid it off, so there was a mortgage, so it helped. Unfortunately, I owe taxes, so I'm getting ready to try to get those done. But I did want to mention.
Where are you located?
14 South Switch. I'm right next to the Pizza Hut. So that was one of the things. So if you know of any grants, because like everybody I usually call my sisters who are deltas, you know, who are my sorority sisters. And, you know, I had several seniors working there with me, and it just gave them something to do. And they were just telling me stories. I bought some sewing machines from the one of the high schools that I used to teach at. They gave me a whole thing of sewing machines. So because of people wanting to be designers and fashion and all of that, I thought that would be a great way. I had one of the ladies who do so and say, I would love to come in and do some of those things. So I just wanted to just add to that.
Just make sure that the manager has your information so we can reach out to you. Thank you, Ms. Lynch.
Thank you.
Sounds great. Give this next guy a minute.
Make sure that he doesn't go a little bit. Thanks, Mayor. If I could, I just wanted to talk for a minute on the flooding issue, okay? Because there was a comment made earlier that the process stopped with the passing of Ted Ehrenberg. And if that's what's being believed, then we're not doing a very good job of communicating what exactly it is that we're doing for the residents of Stanley Place, Bernard, James, what we call the Clay Street drainage area. So if I could, just take a minute and get specific about exactly what it is that we are doing. As the interim city manager indicated earlier, in the last 2 years, we've appropriated $26 million toward flooding throughout the city of Hackensack. Approximately 15 million of that is dedicated to the problem that's afflicting the residents of Stanley Place. It's a 4-phase project. What you have to do is start at the river and work west to get up to west of the railroad, which is the affected area. Now, a few meetings ago, we had a presentation by Suburban Engineering where they showed the Camden Street culvert, which is a giant box culvert. It's an oversized box culvert, meaning it's larger than it needs to be to collect the excess stormwater from the Main Street sewer separation. It's deliberately made larger than it needed to be because we want it to be the collector for the excess stormwater from the Clay Street drainage area. That's already been completed. That was part of the Main Street sewer separation, not one of the phases of this project. The first phase of this project was then to take the separated sewers from Main Street, go west, and bring it to Park Avenue. That's the project that the interim city manager indicated is in its final phases. Okay, phase 2 of this project is to go down to the river and increase the outfall at Fashini Park. This is where the collected water goes into the river. We have to make the outfall larger because we're going to have more stormwater coming. That's phase 2. We'll be awarding the contract to start phase 2 at the August 16th meeting. Okay, that project is going to be starting. After that, the third phase of the project is then to go, because now we're separated from the river all the way up to Park. Phase 3 is going to take us from Park all the way up to the railroad, okay? And then phase 4 is then to go from the railroad west of the rail all the way up to 3rd Street, okay? When all 4 phases are done, yes, what we believe is that what these residents have been experiencing for years, and Tom indicated, it's horrific, okay? Unfortunately, it has to be done in these phases. We can't do one piece before another. You really timed me, huh?
He's kind of exempt. He's a CFO.
That clock's not paid for yet. In any case, Mayor, as I indicated, I think that it's important for people to understand exactly what it is that we're doing, more specific. We've been saying for a long time, we're taking care of it, but I really thought the need to get specific on exactly what we're doing. Okay?
Right. Thank you for explaining that. Realize there's a lot of phases involved in this, and it's going to take time. And, patience is hard to ask of people who've had flooding in their homes for 40, 50 years. So I understand that part. Like I mentioned before, I still have water in my basement as I'm sitting here right now from the storms. With that, anybody else in the public? Seeing none, motion to close to the public.
Offer.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Stephanie?
Sure.
I do have two people
Oh, you
that
have
wrote
two?
in.
Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry.
I have from Dora Mae Davis. My name is Dora Mae Davis. I am writing to you as a concerned citizen of Hackensack, New Jersey. I reside on Stanley Place. This is the place where I was born and raised. I just want the best for this community, and what is developing currently is not good for the community. Infrastructure was not bad for Hackensack of yesteryear, but it is not for the Hackensack of today. What is terrible is the lack of transparency when it comes to the community. Hackensack is not built for all these high rises and excessive plumbing. It's too much for our system to handle. What do I mean? Every time there is torrential rain, my street gets heavily flooded. On Thursday, July 8th, the flooding was so terrible that the water came all the way up to the sidewalk, and it was brown. There is sewage mixed in all of that. The same water is flooding the basements in the homes, traveling to people's cars, as well as damaging them. People in my community, people in your community, people in our community should not have to be subject to this. Please pay more attention to the people and their concerns. Thank you. And she also sent photos that I'll forward over to you.
Okay, thank you.
And the second email is from James Irwin. Good day, Hackensack. I'm writing to ask if there will be a change to the traffic lighting system at Johnson Avenue and Jefferson at this intersection. There has been an increase in traffic with the future housing to come. It will only get worse. Some drivers do not know it is a three-way stop and one-way yellow, which causes confusion and a potential for serious accidents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and yes, there will be a traffic light there. I mean, the county is putting in I believe, a traffic signal at Jefferson, or Johnson, was it Jefferson and Johnson, or was it?
Johnson and Jefferson.
I don't know about Johnson, definitely on, but yeah, Johnson and Jefferson.
That's where it's going,
Yeah, that's where it's going, yeah, 'cause that turns into Kindercommon.
Affirmative response.
Yep. Okay. Go ahead, Steph, sorry.
Good evening. Thank you everyone for being here. It does feel good to be back out. I agree with Mr. Serbo actually, that, it's not fun to be on Zoom and seeing everybody in person really makes a difference.
Bring it closer.
Can you hear me?
Just want to make sure they can hear you.
Sure. I just want a reminder, I know there's some residents of the town that have approached me about planting trees. We usually do that in the fall, so if you have, a request for trees to be planted, put those in now and they'll put you on a list, but it doesn't happen until fall. I usually don't respond to, bad comments or nasty comments, but because it attacked my job that I take very seriously. I've always been involved in special education. I have a passion for advocating for students with disabilities. You could call any of my parents of students that are now in transition programs. And if you look at the students that I've taught, they're all different backgrounds and colors. I've had Spanish, I've had Black, I've had white students, I've had Jewish, Catholic, and I advocate for them. So if you're asking me about critical race theory, I guess I have to say I don't look at them as a color, I look at them as a person. And I say, what is going to be the best thing for this person, for this little child when they grow up? What can I do for them? And when I have kids come over my house, my kids are the minority in their schools. I know that. And when they come to my house, I don't look at them and say, oh, you're a certain color, or you have certain money. They come to my house, they sleep over, they're all friends. I tell my kids, you choose your friends based on their character, on what kind of friend they are. Are they gonna get you into trouble? Are they gonna be, good friends and loyal to you? My 8-year-old's best friend is Black. He's practically, his parents were sick for a while. He was living with us for a while. I was taking care of him. It doesn't matter. So when people do things like that to try to paint you in a bad light, I think that's racist. That's the wrong thing to do. I'm just telling you about my background and what I do. I advocate for students. I make sure that their IEPs are being followed, that they're getting the services, the accommodations, the modifications that they need to succeed in life, and it doesn't matter what color or background they have. That's what I've done for years. So I just ask you, if you have a question about my integrity or who I am or how I raise my kids, come talk to me. Talk to me. Ask me what my feelings are. And I have a lot to share with you, and I'm sure we have more in common than you realize. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Leo?
I listen to the residents about the different problems that we got in the city, and trust me, I've been working the best I can to try to solve most of the problems that people are facing. And I know about the problem by Campbell and Griffin Street. I was there. I know the people that live there. And I've made a recommendation from Suburban and the project manager to go and look into the problem before the street get paid. So it's not like we're not trying to do something to solve the problem. We are working on it, but this is a problem that never really want to take care before. The infrastructure of the city is over 100 years old. Nobody want to go ahead on the way we are doing it. So be patient that eventually you're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you for coming.
Jerry?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to thank the DPW for their hard work during and after the storm. I would also like to thank our city clerk and personnel departments for assisting me in my new position. A special thanks to Councilwoman Stephanie and the rest of the council for helping me to adjust to this new position. In closing, I'm looking forward to continuing servicing this great city. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, sir. I want to start off with welcoming Jerry to his first official duties as a council member of the city of Hackensack, or actually second now. Second now. First one was more of a celebration. This one was work, though. When he saw his package get delivered to the house, which was probably about this thick, I can only imagine what you said to yourself. What am I doing? What am I getting myself into? But welcome aboard, Jared. I'm sure you do a good job, and I'm looking forward to what you and Stephanie are going to do with recreation and bring it back to where it was before. Looking forward to that. Miss Lynch, you're still here, right? I got a great story. I got a young lady who lives next to me. Good little athlete. But Hackensack certainly isn't known for its crew. If your crew is, the rowing thing, all right? We didn't have crew here. And my next door neighbor is a young African-American girl, and her and her mother decided to start a crew club in Hackensack, all right? Kira ended up excelling so much that she's now a two-time national qualifier, and she got a full crew scholarship to the University of San Diego, the Aztecs, who she'll be starting this year as a freshman. So that's great stuff for a young girl in a sport, in a town that really, you don't think of, if you think of crew, you're certainly not thinking of Hackensack, New Jersey, but you should be, right? And you will be, because that club's going to continue on, and thanks to her and a few other young boys and girls that started it, it will continue, and hopefully it will flourish. Those are the barriers I know that we need to get through, and but those are the good stories too. So we need to make sure that that gets out there, and I want to congratulate Kira on her high school graduation and wish her luck as an Aztec at San Diego State University. It's going to be great watching her row out there. Flooding, again, I'm not going to just repeat everything we hashed over, but yeah, it was bad. I just brought up a video, and Chief can attest to this. Main Street by Route 4 by Coles Brook was...
Whitewater rafting.
You guys were bad, believe me. My street was bad. If you saw, you come up, I'll show you the video, you're going to say, oh my God, you'd think it's like a raging rapids somewhere, because the water's going 40 to 50 miles an hour down the street, because it's a brook that overflowed, and it was literally 40 feet wide. It would have taken a bus away. It was that bad. But there was flooding throughout the whole city. There was flooding. Pagoda got hammered. Teaneck got hammered. All the riverfront towns in Bergen County got hammered. Lodi was extremely bad. Garfield was extremely bad. I don't know that anybody was spared from so much rain in such a short amount of time, but what happens with this, one of the things that, when you have underground sewers, there's only so much volume, and when you get an excessive amount at one time like that, it's called a surcharge, and we see it all the times. I saw manhole covers literally getting picked up off the sewer holes and flipped out from the rain, from the water surcharging out. So it's a tough problem, but one we're going to be working on. So, and the sooner the better. The cannabis issue, just so everybody knows, there was a poll taken and a vote taken in the city of Hackensack, and 75% of the citizens in the city of Hackensack voted yes on recreational cannabis. 75%. So a lot of that had to do with myself and other council members, I'm sure, way of thinking on this. But young gentleman spoke to it, and he has his right to do that. He brought up towns that weren't doing it, but there are a lot of towns bordering us that are doing it, including Rochelle Park, Paramus, Lodi, and others. We are doing the bare minimum by allowing one retail dispensary and one cultivation plant. To be no processing of marijuana in the city of Hackensack. And we'll see where it goes from there. That's, putting our foot in the water. But believe me, if somebody's smoking pot and you can't buy it in Hackensack, you can rest assured they're going to go to another town and buy it. And they're going to come right back to Hackensack and smoke it. So we went through a similar situation with the cigarette ordinance when they wanted to stop the sale of cigarettes to people under 21. And what else? I guess that's it. It's been a long night, so I need a motion to close.
Offer.
Becky. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Everybody have a great night. High five. Good job. I can call. Thank you, Ms. Lynch. Appreciate it. Yes, definitely. Well, I had $1 for every comment, so.